Well, they're not 3 metres apart.
You should be on.
You're in the show.
You're in the show. Everyone can see and hear you. Mwah. Are we supposed to see and hear everybody? Can you hear us? Everyone can see and hear you.
Yep, we're all on.
Takeover TV, everyone. Good evening. I'm Trevor Marmalade, and it's time to dual screen, everyone. So put on the TV. We're on Channel 7. We're watching the game, Richmond Collingwood. I'm joined on the couch, as I always am, by the great man Lucas. And also joining us this evening is Richmond legend, champion, former games record holder Kevin Bartlett.
Can't hear you, Kev.
Oh, no, that's the best he's sounded for years.
There we go. We had to find a way. How you going? We're also joining us, Collingwood legend Renee King.
Thank you, Trevor. Lovely to be here. 7 times losing grand finalist. Very happy with that.
Mate, I'm very happy about that too, especially a couple of them were against North Melbourne. And in the bottom corner, joining us, Mark Fine. And who's that with you, Mark?
It's Xana's, Troy Zantuck.
How you going there, Troy?
How are you, Trev?
All right. Have we, well, boys, finally.
Mate, I've unbelievable. Mate, unbelievable. Mate, what got here? Mate, it's like an SEN reunion, mate. SEN speaking extra new start. Sack everybody now. Mate, it's unbelievable. How's it all going? Mate, Renee King, how you going, mate?
Good, thanks, Guido. Fantastic. I know you love your magpies. I know that.
Fantastic, mate. You're a hairdresser, is that right?
Ladies hairdresser, yeah. I was just about to turn, but I didn't turn. I kept a straight line after getting out of hairdressing.
Mate, let me tell you, mate, whoever sold you that suit gave you a haircut. Yeah, mate.
What's that?
Whoever sold you that suit gave you a haircut. Mate, it's a football loser.
I got plenty of hair, mate. I'm very lucky.
Yeah, mate. A bit of felt from the $2 store and a bit of glue goes a long way, my friend.
Yeah, well,
all right,
that's what happens. The price you pay to look this good at 63, mate. I can't do much about it.
Mate, Kevin Bartlett, you're just here to get the chicks in, mate. Fantastic. You hungry?
I thought it was Ozzy Osbourne for a minute.
No, mate. The good hats. You've got to get it right. I can't believe it. We got Troy Zantuck as well. This is unbelievable. Mate, Mr. Football Statistic. Football statistic. Mate, I'll give you a football statistic, mate. You want to know what it is?
What's that, Guido?
100% of the time you're a skippy dickhead. There you go. You can take that. Take that to the bank, mate. All right, that's it. I'm out of here. You guys have a good night tonight. And remember, ancient Greeks invented football.
Yeah, we're at.
Good on you, Guido. All right,
Hey.
boys. We're from the Collingwood Richmond camps. Kev, Renee, what are we expecting?
I think it'll be a good game, and after our first round win against Footscray, we were very good, and of course it's a bit of I think we're training well, and a couple of nice changes in the side, and I think there's plenty to look forward to tonight.
And what do you think about the in Darcy Cameron out Mason Cox? Mason Cox, is he ever going to make it?
All mums love Cox, don't they? Yeah, Mason Cox, they love him, you know. But Darcy Cameron, a lot of potential. A lot of potential. I'm looking for big things from him.
We don't want to talk about Mason Cox, you know that.
Yeah, you two have got a bit of history, KB and Renee. You played your first game against Richmond, Renee.
Yeah, I did. It wasn't my first. It was my first full game in 1973 on the MCG. We were, I think, 6 or 7 up. Kevin, weren't we, at halftime? And Royce Hart came on, and for some reason, typical Collingwood, we stopped and looked at each other and thought, "What's going on?" And we got beaten in the end. And the game was there for us to win, but once again, it's another one we lost.
The controversy about it was that for Renault to come in and play at 16 years of age, they had to drop the great Peter McKenna, which has caused a little bit of heartburn over the years. But I think you kicked 3 goals, 4, was it, Renault?
3 goals, 4 I kicked on the famous Dick Clay, and it was start of my career, and 7 losing grand finals later, nothing changed.
Oh, Renault, the selection table, boys. I mean, with put out on the bench and McKenna out of the side.
Sorry, what was that again, Trev?
Something must have been going on at the selection table. I'll get to you Friday next. Is if you had Peter McKenna dropped and you had Royce Hart on the bench.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Royce Hart had to be on the bench because Royce had a crook knee and probably wasn't even expected to actually play in the game. But rather than going to the game without him, being a preliminary final, they thought they'd take the risk and put him on the bench if he was needed. And, of course, we were 7 goals down at half-time, and Royce came on and kicked an early goal in the third quarter, which triggered a great Richmond comeback. And finally, we got Collingwood late in the game, and we finished up winning by 9 points. But early in the game, my memory of that game, Renee, was that they started Len Thompson at centre-half forward and Big Graham Jerker Jenkins in the ruck. And Len Thompson absolutely dominated the game at centre-half forward. Yeah,
that was very much the case, and that's why. And they were leading by 7 goals. It was a great effort to be there at 7 goals. And Royce came on, and once again, as I said, I don't know what went wrong, and we got beaten by 9 points.
Well, what went wrong with the final match? Friday and Ty, how you going there, boys?
Yeah, good, Trevor. Interesting stat about Renee. He started his career against the Lions in round 19, 1973, and he finished his career round 19, 1986 against Fitzroy. Started 181 games.
Yeah, Troy, that's not a bad memory or information, because I played my first game against Kevin Murray at the Fitzroy Oval, and I came on at halftime and kicked 3 goals and got dropped the following week, and then went on to the bench, and then of course against Richmond in the final. But as far as finishing my career, if that's the case, I played out my last year at St Kilda. I played 7 games there. I didn't really want to go to St Kilda and finish my career, but Graham Jelly they advised me, and it happened.
No, hey, Renee, do you remember that year at St Kilda, you only played in 1 winning team? You remember who it was against?
No, I don't. I don't really remember it.
No, we're from Tigerland.
Again.
That's fine.
Your last win in VFL football was against the Tigers.
Oh, really? Yeah, well.
There you go, Renee. Another stat for you, mate. You started in number 45, your career.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did 45 and got down to number 36. And, I've said to the boys, I said to Rocco, myself, and Swanee, I said I wouldn't mind bringing out a big fully autographed blazer or a jumper with the 336 on it. I think it might sell.
How long into your career, Rene, before you got the nickname the Incredible Hulk?
Oh, I can't remember, Kev. Lou Richards gave it to me, I don't know, reasonably early in my career. It was in the 70s. And then, I can't exactly remember. Oh, well, how blessed was I to be able to create something for myself and have a nickname. As I say to people, do you remember Gary Colling? And they go, Gary Colling? I said, yeah, he played over 300 games for St Kilda. And I think he was a captain of St Kilda. Who would know Gary Colling if you walked down the street? How lucky are we to have a...
Bob Ketty would know Gary Colling.
Sorry?
Bob Ketty would know Gary Colling.
Oh, right. Yeah. I vaguely remember what happened there.
Yeah, he played on him in the 71 grand final and gifted them a premiership.
Thank you very much.
Well, he kicked 4 goals in the last quarter, Ketty, didn't he, Finey?
Yeah. Well, Rene Kingston was obviously also Tank O'Donoghue.
Of course.
Yeah, yes, Tank. You can't forget Tank.
And Gary Colling's nickname was Cat.
Yeah, well, what was...
Did you get paid a fortune? Did you get paid a fortune for the movie The Club?
Funny enough, there was only Tommy Hayfield and myself on Actors Equity contracts. And I got royalties for a few years.
Really?
Look, it was about $2,500 for the movie that I got. Extras were, I think, on about a couple $100, when they came in to do their little bit. And then I got royalties for a few years. It wasn't much. But I remember the last cheque that I got was $37, and I should have kept it for the Collingwood Football Club to put it in their museum eventually and put something on the cheque in regards to the movie The Club. But I was pretty desperate at the time. I had to bank it.
We've already had a win in this game, Rene. We've already had a win. We've won the toss. So the Tigers have won the toss.
Right.
So it's going to be a great night for the Tigers.
Yeah, it's going to be a great night. What a shame that the crowd's not there. But anyway, well, 2 evenly matched sides, so I'm looking forward to it. Kevin, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Your 400th game, was that 1983 or 84?
83.
83, and I believe when everyone was lining up and praising your effort, a particular player, am I correct in saying this, a particular player presented something with you before you go on with it?
Ray Byrne. It was a terrific player, Ray Byrne, and he's a very funny man.
Ray Byrne came up to you and presented you with a comb.
Yes, a toothless comb. A toothless comb he pulled out of his sock.
And for some reason you said, look, I can't accept that today. I'm very busy.
We lost the game. We lost the game.
Yeah.
Collingwood won.
Yeah.
I never kicked the goal.
Ray tells me he sent it off to you, the code.
He did. No, he's a great fellow, Ray. He's a great person. He was a great Collingwood man.
Oh, was he? But what a funny thing to do. What a great thing to do.
Footy's back.
Bouncing the ball.
Yeah, footy's back. There's a good start with Dustin Martin getting the first kick.
Yeah, there's a free kick the other way.
Free kick. Can you believe that? He gets a free kick.
That was a crowd free.
He kicked it 15 metres straight to Cochin. Can you believe that? What's wrong with football these days, Rene?
I think 18 months ago. Well, they never kick it. How about DeGoey? I think 18 months ago he didn't have one tattoo. He's nearly as many as Dusty. Hasn't he got some tattoos now?
Yeah, well, that seems to be the norm.
DeGoey.
Yeah, he's got that many tattoos. He's going to have a full book eventually, by the looks of it.
Yeah, he's got more stamps than a package to Luxembourg, mate.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Actually, Dacos' boy Josh has just had a kick. I think Josh Dacos has got a lot of ability. I think he's a pretty sharp young player. I think he'd be a good player for Collingwood.
He just might be a bit small, Kev, I think.
Yeah. Rene likes him big.
Look at the game, the way the game's changed. It's amazing that all the on-ballers now, the great on-ballers are all 6'3", 6'4", like Cripps, and Dangerfield. I just love that.
Too thin.
Who's that?
Grenville Dietrich, too thin.
Well, it's interesting with Darcy Cameron playing on the forward line. They've obviously preferred him to Mason Cox. And, of course, we've got shocking memories of Mason Cox in that preliminary final a couple of years ago in 2018 when he kicked those 4 goals and dominated the game. So it's just interesting they've left him out. I see it was an emergency tonight, and young Cameron comes in. So they must have high expectations of Cameron.
Oh, nice.
How?
Yeah.
Well, there
That's
it
the
is.
problem. That's going to be the problem for Richmond, isn't it, Finey, with Grundy in the ruck? I mean, he just dominated that hit out then, and then Adams kicks a goal.
Yeah, I mean, look, Richmond looked great round one for part of the game, but you know what I've always said, Kevin? 81 days is a long time in football.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
It's a bloody long time in football.
It's a good start by the Pies.
I've always said with Cox, whatever you get out of him is a bonus because he doesn't have a clue about the game. He's had that one great game, which
What do you
he
mean he
did
hasn't
fire
got a
up.
clue? He kicked 4 goals against the Tigers in the preliminary final.
Oh, yes, yes. Oh, Kevin, he hasn't got a clue. But whatever you get out of
Honestly, Rene, he's a pretty good player, but he just doesn't cover the ground well enough. He doesn't get to enough contests. In the modern game, you can't just stand there. He just does not cover the ground well enough.
No, he certainly does.
USA. In fact, Trev, didn't North Melbourne many years ago, didn't they have a basketballer, an American basketballer they had playing for him in the reserves, hoping that he'd come through and play as a senior?
Yeah, what was his name?
I'm pretty sure his name was Eric Wallace. Some huge fella came from college basketball or something like that. Yeah.
Not on Lucas.
Well done, Lucas.
Another project player who was on the list for 3 years and never struck a blow. As Brad used to say, you spend all your time on these project players and you don't spend any time with the guys who are actually playing.
Do you know who that first American project player was many years ago?
Was it Sandon Wheeler?
No, he was a little kid that he's passed away, I think, tragically.
Yes, he did, unfortunately, sadly, a couple of months ago.
Yeah, no, a guy called Dwayne Armstrong went to Essendon.
Yes,
And there's a very famous incident at Punt Road, one of the funniest things ever in footy. He didn't know anything about the game. Anyhow, Richmond he was playing for Essendon, and Essendon had kicked a point, but there was no Richmond players nearby. So he picked up the ball for the kick-in, and he kicked it to a Richmond player 45 metres away who was calling for the lead. He just thought the nearest person to the ball kicked in for the point. Didn't matter who kicked it.
That was a reserves game, though, wasn't it, Finey? It was a reserves, not seniors.
Right. He never played seniors.
You'd remember the Irish experiment, KB, with Melbourne when Barras got Paul Early over for the one game?
Yeah. Paul Early came across. Yes, he did. And then, of course, they finished up with, the great Jimmy Steins and Sean White, two of the most successful, aren't they, really? I mean, one wins the Brownlow medal, one of the all-time greats. And then Sean White was an outstanding player. He was, I think he might have been originally from Scotland, although I think we call him an Irish player, but I think he was really a Scot.
Yeah, no, he terrific service he gave to Melbourne over the journey.
There's Dacos again, Rene, just getting a few touches for the Mighty Pies.
Oh, he can get the ball. There's no question he can get the ball, but I just find him, unfortunately, he's just a little bit short.
Why is he wearing number 17?
I don't know. Who wore 17?
Would you wear?
No, he's not wearing 17. I don't think, is he? I think he's 26, isn't he?
Callum Brown's wearing 17.
Callum Brown 17. But Dacos doesn't wear 5. What number?
Well, haven't they got something at Collingwood with Dacos' number and in terms of
Every first
players, first-year players, or highest recruited player or something?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I've got no idea why he'd be wearing that number.
been a long time. I don't even know which team's which anymore. That's Collingwood. I can tell. You're kicking the ball across the ground.
That's it.
He's all right, this Hoskin Elliott.
Yeah, he's a bit of a cameo player so far, isn't he? I mean, he's not one of those players who seems to be in the game all the time, but he can bob up and kick a goal, take a mark. But at the moment, he's probably got to take another step.
Yeah, but both teams play a real keeping off sort of game, don't they? They both want to control the ball at all costs and give it off to options.
That's Magden, isn't it? 44. Is that Magden?
44. Yeah, he's not a bad player actually.
Yeah, I think John Lennon wrote a song about him.
I haven't seen him yet.
No, that's what I'm asking.
I'll have a look. I don't know. I'll have a look. Just been asked, is Darcy Moore out there?
I haven't seen
My
him.
grandkids just asked me about Darcy Moore, but I haven't seen him yet. But
That's the thing with brown hair. You know who he doesn't look like? Darcy Moore.
Well, Darcy Moore's been named in the side, but I don't know if there's any late changes.
Adams.
Who do you fancy tonight, Trev? You're a good judge.
Oh, well, generally I'm pretty much sorry, Renee, and anyone the Collingwood fan. But, mate, I'm just happy to have it back and have two great teams going at it. I mean, these two teams would be right there at the pointy end of the season, you'd imagine. Oh, Jack Higgins, can I be the first one to say what a great story?
I tell you what, to see Jack Higgins take that mark as well. I mean, that's a fantastic comeback by that young boy to have that brain operation. I mean, such a scary time for him. I mean, it's great that Harley Bennell's also going to come back after 2 games in 4 years, but, nearly life-threatening for Jack Higgins. And,
he's a very good player too, Kevin. He's a very good player.
Yeah, it takes a lot of courage to have the big operation and come back.
But that's all about what we're good at the moment, Kev, because they actually, Jack Higgins, I mean, they picked him. That's the thing. I mean, he's had no footy, obviously, but they go, no, he's right, we put him in, and whatever he does, we'll lift the side.
I've got all my grandkids here watching the game. They go to Caulfield Grammar, and of course, Jack Higgins was a Caulfield Grammar boy, so they've got their fingers crossed he can do okay tonight.
Oh, he can come over with the other Caulfield Grammar boy, Jack Sable.
Is he okay? Is he going to play? He hurt his knee in the opening round. Is he going to play, Trent?
The break's been good for some of them.
That's Collingwood supporters in the background. They want a free kick.
Yeah, Trevor, you know the benefit of having a bit of spell, running the horse fresh.
Well, yeah, sometimes depends though.
Well, I think that's Marley and Pickett's secret because he got drafted, waited 120 days for his first game, won a grand final, waited another 120 days for his second game, and then had to wait 81 for his third game. So I'm assuming he goes well fresh.
But, unbelievable that they would pick him in that grand final last year. They could have just come undone spectacularly, but unbelievable that they picked him and that he played so well. Oh, your man, Phillips.
Phillips, first goal on the board.
Oh, Lucas has got a bit of a multi going tonight. He needs Phillips to get 20.
Well, they're playing with a bit of aggression. I like it.
Looking good for now.
Yeah, they're pushing the ball forward at all costs, which is good stuff.
Haven't got their system going yet, Kev.
Say that again, Trev.
Sorry, Trev.
They haven't got their system going yet.
Not yet. No, Collingwood's been very good. I mean, there's a few scrappy kicks. I mean, Renee's right. I mean, football has become a game of keepings off, and you get the ball and little short handballs, little short kicks. There's been a few scrubby and scrappy old kicks so far, but at the moment, getting in first, and it's a good start.
And don't forget, we've got these shorter quarters now, so you get the scores on the board. The bird might have flown the coop by the time.
Teams come out, they kick 2 or 3 at the start, but after 10 or 15 minutes, the game becomes a game of systems, and it changes around quick.
Must have been touched off the boot that time because De Goey's been pretty lively actually for Collingwood.
They're coming off some great form, aren't they? The Pies, they absolutely dismantled the Bulldogs in that first round. I know it was only obviously the first game, but gee, they looked impressive.
No, they were terrific against the Bulldogs. I mean, they only kicked 5 goals, the Bulldogs. And they've been confident, haven't they, in the lead up to the game? They've talked themselves up a little bit, the Pies.
Well, that's a tough call if that's holding the ball.
I should nearly get 50 metres for not giving up the ball. I mean, once you give the free kick.
Oh, Kevin. Always an umpire's man, Kevin.
Hey, well, I mean, he just refused to give him the ball. I mean, if they're going to be fair dinkum about it.
Here, Lings, get into the game, son.
Darcy's out there.
He's there. Catch him.
He's there.
He's got the Auburn look going at the moment.
Hasn't got the blonde hair anymore.
No, he's giving
that's long gone, mate. Come on. Oh, there he is. He's got the headband or whatever they call those things. That's a bad kick.
That's
uncharacteristic for the Tigers, isn't it?
Kevin, I certainly wouldn't like to be out there playing without any crowd, as you and I have experienced massive crowds. It'd be very, very strange, wouldn't it?
It would be strange. In fact, just on what I think Finey said before about Marlion Pickett, in his first game, he played in front of about 100,000 in the grand final. And in his second game, Troy played in front of no one.
Yeah, it's a big come down.
It'd be just about the biggest differential in history, wouldn't it, from your first game to your second game?
Kevin, did you know at the current rate of how many games he's played per days of the year, he'll play his 100th game when he's 94 years old.
It'll be all worthwhile watching, I hope.
I'll tell you what, he probably could do it as well. He's a bit of a miracle, man.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, Tigers, get on your horse here, Richmond. Let's see some good footy from both teams.
There he is.
Is that Hal?
Yeah, he's got blonde hair.
Oh, people got bored during the lockdown.
It's like the Bill Idol Appreciation Society out there.
Well, what about you? You cutting the Finley's hair during lockdown?
There's more than that was a great
I did.
Great defensive play by Moore then, wasn't it? Darcy Moore coming across in front of Jack Revolt there. I mean, he's a good player, Darcy Moore. He's athletic. It's a good effort.
He's got a bit to go, Kevin. He's still got to make it as far as I'm concerned. He's very close, but he hasn't done enough yet.
So you don't think he's going to be as good as his old man, Rene?
No, I don't believe that. But it's only early days. He's got a lot more football ahead of him.
Rene, we just had we got some great feedback from people watching this first up bracket for Takeover TV, and somebody mentioned that they remembered you as a superstar junior footballer who kicked 126 goals in 11 games.
No, I came down from Ararat. I kicked 143 in 14 games. I kicked 22-15, one game. And I got beaten in the best and fairest by one vote.
you know what, Rene? That reminds me of a great story where you get beaten the best and fairest. I can remember speaking to the great Bob Pratt, and in 1933, I think it was, Bob Pratt kicked 150 goals, and along with Peter Hudson, of course, who equalled it, but the only two to kick 150 goals. And that year, he never won their best and fairest. So I said to Bob Pratt, how come you kicked 150 games in an 150 goals in an 18-game season and a couple of finals, and you couldn't win your club's best and fairest? He said, it upset me. He said, I went to the committee and I said to him, how come I never won the best and fairest? And they told me I wasn't consistent enough. So 150 he was kicking 7.5 goals a game, and he wasn't consistent enough.
Hey,
Not
Lucas. Look, he's got the ball.
Oh, hello.
We've got Phillips again.
Phillips
Billy?
again.
Well, Chuck's playing forward. He wants him to get 20 touches, not kick
I
goal.
looked a couple of minutes ago and he's actually leading the ground for disposal, so quite all right. One of them players that can a fair bit without you even noticing, I reckon.
Yeah, so if
He's
you
a
want to
good
bury,
Caulfield boy.
you've got Richmond head-to-head by plus 9.5, Phillips 20, and Cochin 20. Okay. Just to explain.
Oh, he's hit the post.
There we go. It's still a kick, though.
It's a backhand kick the way he did it.
Still a kick, eh?
The crowd put him off.
It never was online, was it? I mean, it was always going to be behind. I mean, in the end, it sort of swung a bit and hit the post, but
There you go.
it was never online to kick a goal.
No.
Yeah.
Just on crowds, boys. There's to Rene and KB. There's the figure 92436 register. Any memories for you?
I think I've got that raffle ticket.
924326.
92436.
Was that the crowd? Was that the crowd when Tommy Hafey coached against Richmond for the first time in 1977?
KB, absolutely magnificent, mate. Round 4, 1977. That was the crowd for Collingwood Richmond. The biggest home and away attendance between the two clubs.
Yeah, it was Tommy's first game.
Wasn't it?
You know what I thought it was, Kevin? Karen Cameron's phone number.
Who's?
Cameron.
Kevin's there.
Come on.
He could be on.
And KB, 25 touches that day. Rene, 2 goals, 6. And a bloke called David Miller kicked 5 goals.
I think it was his
David
first
who?
game. I think it was his first game, David Miller. He was a very good player, Rene, and unfortunately for David Miller, he was at work after he'd only finished up. I think he only played about 4 or 5 games for the Tigers, and he kicked 5 in that game. And someone flicked the spoon at him and hit him in the eye and blinded him in one eye.
And never went on with it.
Well, he blinded in one eye.
Yeah.
Someone threw a spoon, having a bit of fun. They've just kicked a goal, Collingwood. But David Miller was a very, very talented player, so it was a bit of a shame. He could have played a lot of footy.
How old was he that particular year?
Oh, he would have only been 19 or something like that, David Miller. He would have only been a youngster playing his first game. Came up. Yeah. I think he came through the under 19.
Never heard of him.
I think he had I think pretty certain David had a pretty successful career in suburban football coaching or that sort of stuff. Yeah, but it was. In fact, Troy, that game that you just mentioned, was that Anzac Day?
It certainly was, mate. There's no doubt
It was
about
an Anzac Day. So you know what? When you think about it, people talk about Collingwood and Essendon on Anzac Day, drawing a big crowd there. In 1977, Richmond played Collingwood and drew 94,000.
Must have been a wonderful atmosphere for you, KB and Rene, to run out onto the ground with 92,000 people there, like a grand final.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They're just little things that you sort of forget how great it was to be a young person, young footballer to do that. People live for that, wouldn't they?
I tell you one thing, Troy, I always remember about it was that as Tommy Hafey walked around the boundary line to go up to the coaching box, he got a standing ovation from the Richmond fans.
Oh, well,
it was a big moment.
Well, Kev, did you play an Anzac game against Fitzroy in front of the Queen?
Yes, I did. I met her at half time. She shook me by the hand.
Yeah,
She's a Fitzroy supporter, the Queen.
Yeah, she shook me by the hand and she said, KB, I'm a big fan.
I hope you didn't have too much resin on your hand. Take her glove with it.
Of course, you know what happened. That was the opening game of 1970 after we won the premiership in '69 and Fitzroy Wooden Spooners. And what happened was Fitzroy got up and beat Richmond in the opening game. So the Wooden Spooners in 1970 pulled off one of the biggest upsets ever. beating the Tigers. At that stage, Fitzroy had hardly won a game for many, many years. The funny story about Fitzroy, though, and they kicked the goal.
Well,
Collingwood kicked another goal.
Because Carlton won the flag in the North. They finished wooden spooners, put them in round 1 of 71.
Same thing, yeah. It's amazing, isn't it? You know, the amazing thing, Troy would know this, and also Finey, that the great Kevin Murray, who you played on in your first game, Renee, that you mentioned before, he coached Fitzroy for 2 years, and he never won a game. Never won a game for Fitzroy. But in those 2 years, they never won a game one season, and then the next season they won one game. And what happened was Kevin Murray got picked to play for Victoria, and they put in Wally Clark as the fill-in coach, and Fitzroy knocked off Geelong to win the only game for the year. And poor old Kevin Murray, who coached them for 2 years, never coached them to a win.
It's a great story.
And it was
It's an amazing story.
Geelong won the flag.
Geelong they did too. I've got a feeling, Finey, that it might have been one of those really wet days, and muddy days, and I think they might have been playing out at the old Fitzroy ground.
Kenny Peace wrote a book on it. In fact, I'll produce it at quarter time. If Collingwood had stopped kicking goals, we'd get there.
They're leading by 4 goals.
A bookshelf about that game.
They first. Oh, goodness. Far.
Come on,
name me one sporting moment Ken Peace hasn't written a book on.
Well, he's writing a book. He's writing a book about this program that we're doing now, as we speak.
I reckon he would be.
Yeah,
I reckon he would be. I noticed, Trevor, that Shaw was saying that they've got to fly up with the same plane or something as the Bombers, and that the Bombers are the natural enemy of North Melbourne. Have you always thought that?
Not particularly. I've never minded it. In fact, always loved Kevin Sheedy and always loved what he did to promote the games. And the great thing about Sheedy, of course, is when they played in the pre-season for money, is that whenever Essendon played North, they never ever beat North because Kev was just a socialist. And he'd play Matthews or the fullback. He'd do everything he could, going, well, they need the money and we don't.
What about that amazing game when North Melbourne led the Bombers by 12 goals when they were coached by Dennis Pagan, and the Bombers come from 12 goals down to beat North Melbourne?
And you know what? We were 12 goals up, and even then I thought, you know what? Maybe not enough.
I mean, it's one of the most amazing comebacks in history.
Yeah, but the thing is, I think they were only like 17 points at half time. They came back pretty quick in the second quarter. So it was, they were pretty much favourites at half time, even though they were so far behind.
Well, there's quarter time. It's a great start, wasn't it, by Collingwood, 4 goals, 1 to the Tigers only kicked the one behind.
Yeah, Kev, the bubbles burst, mate. The bubbles burst. It's all over for the Tigers. They're on the slide. It's time for a rebuild.
All the Richmond supporters have gone home.
I think Collingwood controlled the game and they had possession a little bit more than Richmond, which was a nice thing to do.
Any breeze out there, do you think?
Yep.
No, it looked pretty quiet, doesn't it?
Anything, any soft drink.
Well, I'll tell you a favour because we're within walking distance of the ground, so maybe I'll just stick my head outside and tell you what the weather is. We can actually hear the siren in my place.
It's actually one thing that's gone out of the broadcast these days is that they never tell you which way the wind's blowing. And they go at quarter time, they go, they're 4 goals in front. Then at half time, they caught up. And then in the third quarter, the game swung around again. You go, yeah, it's a 5-goal breeze out there.
Hey, Kevin.
Yes, they want to know how the Tigers are travelling. Not very well in the first quarter. I tipped them to win tonight. I tipped the Tigers to win by 89 points.
We've just had Queen's birthday. Do you remember it would be 45 years ago now, 1975, St Kilda played Richmond at Waverley on Queen's birthday on the Monday?
Yes. What was significant about it?
Well, Richmond led at half time, 9 goals, 8 to 1 goal, 8.
What happened after half time?
That was St Kilda's greatest ever comeback at that stage. They won the game.
Did they? Who was coaching St Kilda back then?
Oh, that was still would have been Alan Jeans towards the end of his tenure. Yeah, it was Jeansy, just as St Kilda was going through the death throes of, they were a very good team. It was the end of that era, but there were still a couple of good games in them. Unfortunately, that was to be one of the last really good ones because they didn't play finals again until 1991.
Who played well? Who played well for St Kilda that day?
I'm trying. Look, you know what? I used to go to every game, and I had to go to school that day, and I was listening to that game in class, and I remember getting in trouble for listening to the game. And my teacher, my social studies teacher, said, "You cannot have the radio on in class." And at that stage, St Kilda were getting fraffed. And I said, yes, yeah, fair enough. I shouldn't be listening to it anyhow. And that same teacher grabbed me after school and said, "Have you got that radio? You're right in this game, son." And we ended up with it. But
have you got a favourite all-time St Kilda player? Just a favourite player, not the best player, but a favourite player.
Well, you know what? We just had a very quiet AFL Hall of Fame night, and I cannot tell you how pleased I was that Lenny Hayes was recognised. I mean, he's an unassuming bloke, Lenny, and he quickly went to GWS after he finished. He's not in the headlines. He was the most physically, he was a ferocious player, Lenny. He ended a couple of careers, not illegally, just through the absolute powerful attack on the ball. Remember Sean Rusling?
Yes, the Collingwood player.
Yeah, and that shoulder problem. That was from a Lenny Hayes
Thunderbolt.
And they were thunderbolts. So he was just
from a Chris Judd chicken wing.
No chicken wings, no illegality. He's a great bloke, Lenny. He's a lovely boy. Him and George Young. When I started watching, it was George Young. You remember George Porgy, don't you, Renee?
Yeah, very much so. Very good player. Good player.
I was at Waverley when he kicked 7 goals against Essendon in the elimination final.
Yeah, that was a beautiful day. Sunny day, 1973. Jeff Moran.
Can I just jump in before we go back to the game? Has someone got a take on this Jack Stephen stabbing thing? Does anyone know anything about it? Because all we heard. Sorry?
I think we know what happened, but no one actually knows anything.
Yeah, well, I'm dumbfounded because it's been kept very quiet.
Yeah, well, it's the culture of the Geelong Football Club, isn't it?
Ooh.
Well, hang on. I mean, that is an outrageous thing to say, but that's exactly what Caroline Wilson said about St Kilda when Andrew Lovett, who'd never played a game for St Kilda, got into trouble. It was the St Kilda Football Club culture that was to blame. So, obviously, this is the Geelong culture, isn't it? That same logic, isn't it?
Yeah. But I don't think we need to talk about Hertier Lumumba, do we, really? I think Collingwood's got that all in hand, haven't they?
You're Collingwood.
Yeah, I think enough's been said about that, as it has been brought up on different occasions, and probably very inappropriate at the moment because of what's going on in America. So I think that's one we just leave and let it go to bed, eh?
Well, in general, you can't say Collingwood's ever been that guilty of being into culture per se.
Kevin, can I ask you a serious question?
Go ahead.
No, this is serious. I mean, we've gone through the incredible last few months, haven't we? And I mean, Kevin's as fit as a Mallee bull. He's never smoked, never drunk alcohol, never handballed.
Loves his fish and chips.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if never handballing is good for your health. But seriously, Kev, but on a serious note, you're in an age bracket which medical authorities here and overseas have said is susceptible to the most serious outcomes of COVID-19. Were you scared at all? Did you live your life differently? Did your family protect you a little bit more? Because, I know my mum's a lot older than you, but we were very careful with mum.
Yeah, no, look, we isolated pretty well. Very fortunate that the family would do the shopping and bring across food and bake some food for us and all that sort of stuff and bring it across. My kids were really, really good. So Denise was very, very conscious of having hand wash and all that sort of stuff, and so we really just isolated by staying at home. And as I say, the kids dropped us off food and things like that. It was a bit tough because my youngest daughter just had her first baby, and we couldn't see the baby for about 8 or 9 weeks there at one stage, which was a little bit tough for a newborn. But it was a bit of a concern because they suggested that people from 65, I think it was, onwards, that were in a susceptible bracket. But we isolated. That's why the other day when 10,000 people turned up in town, you sort of scratch your head that you've been isolating, and Dan Andrews has been saying golf's a matter of life and death, but we did the right thing, and we're okay.
And that March, by the way, there's been a positive COVID-19 test come out of it, so that's a concern for people that were there. Yeah. I mean, I've got to say, it's funny, isn't it? Because you couldn't meet. I mean, Kevin's still fitter than most 40-year-olds.
Well, he's lived a great lifestyle.
I'm 93.
It's a shit lifestyle, but anyhow.
He's only 53.
Yeah, I mean, he lived till
93.
He'll live till 110, but do you really want to do that without a drink and a smoke?
Well, boy,
people say to me finally, how old are you? And I go, 93. And you know why I say 93? And you know what they say? You look great.
Well, it turns out that you have 50% less risk of COVID if you smoke. So turns out I've been on a health kick for 40 years.
We're underway in the second quarter, 25 points to 1. Collingwood's in front. Got my fingers crossed that the Tigers might be able to kick a goal this quarter, surely.
So, Lucas, did you check the stats sheet at quarter time, mate?
Yes, looking right so far. Phillips, I think, had 8 and Cochin 7. So,
beautiful, mate. The money's up its way.
Richmond got a win by 9.5.
Yeah, kind of need to keep that in consideration.
I noticed that Dacos had it 9 times in the first quarter, Renee.
9 times. That surprises me, but he was in the thick of things. So that's a great thing if he's doing that sort of work.
Renee, what are you on about? Boomer Harvey was half the size of Dacos. I mean, and he finished up playing.
Half the size of Peter Dacos. not this one.
Do you like the idea of the crowd noise, the bed of noise for television?
Yeah, it's good.
I think it's good.
Mind you, when I suggested they might run that, what did you say? You weren't up for it.
Definitely vital.
But do you know who they're using in space? EA Sports.
Like video game sound effects.
They're using the same video game sound effects.
Yeah, Cameron. Yeah.
Good mark. He forced himself into that mark. That was outstanding.
Oh, good mark. Good defensive mark by Edwards.
Sure was. Too good.
A question for all of you boys, everybody. Do you find without the crowd and their emotion, I think in the first round the umpiring seemed better because there's, it's often the crowd the crowd's booing and ahhing that make you feel that the umpire's having a bad afternoon.
Oh, don't worry. That's absolutely right. So how West Coast going to go if the crowd can't umpire it? They get a massive disadvantage.
Yeah, but finally we expect the first round of football to be well umpired because everyone should be on their game and giving their best, and obviously the umpires did.
As long as they remember the rules 81 days in.
Well, that's true too. So let's see what happens at the end.
Here we go.
That's a free kick against the
That's a free kick.
The arms
Grab him
there.
by the arm. It's got to be a free kick.
I don't know. That blonde bloke isn't 38, but he's no Jeremy Howe.
No.
There we go. There's a charity to get you back in it, Kev.
Well, he hit his arm going for the mark, so he gets a free kick every day of the week.
I'm a bit annoyed about that.
Collingwood supporters here don't reckon it was a free kick.
That's a free kick. That's a free kick in wrestling.
But why was he 7 metres from him? Why wasn't he on him? That's what I can't work out.
That's not a bad kick from the angle.
Tigers are on the board, Kev.
Oh, badly needed. Did you play with Greg Strawn, didn't you?
Yes, Greg Strawn is my optometrist.
And Richmond.
Yeah, he was number 19. I don't think he would have kicked that one. He's a good player.
He was. It's very solidly built, KB, Greg Strawn.
Yes, and still is. But he runs.
Optometrist, Kev?
He runs Strawn's optometry in Blackburn Square, and his son's an optometrist too. So is his wife. So he's devoted his life to it.
Yeah,
he's a good player.
Oh, we've been waiting the whole quarter to see the Richmond ball. They got one, apparently.
It's a whole family of optimists.
I think the floodgates will open now.
Yeah, well, you've got one.
Keep one in a row, Kev. You're on fire.
Yeah, that's not like Jeremy Howe to make he's made a couple of mistakes so far in this game.
Yeah, he's got to go back to the normal hair there, Rene. You're a hairdresser. You know the effect of it.
Well, I could. Too much colour in it. I understand.
You can ruin it. You can ruin a bride's day with too much colour.
What's going on here?
It's good for Gavin Brown, isn't it, that he's got two sons playing for Collingwood. I mean, that's a fantastic family tradition there. They must feel very proud of his kids.
Young Tyler's inherited Peter McKinnon, famous number, Kev.
I think he's a good player. He played very well in round one. I think he looks like he's going to be a player for a long, long time for the Pies.
Yeah. Well, let's hope so. Let's hope so. Let's see. Let's keep the tradition going.
He's a little bit bigger than Callum, isn't he?
I like this. I like this.
Oh, what a beautiful kick.
Phillips, Callum.
Yeah. Thank you.
Phillips. 2 goals, 1.
That was great play. Started in the back line, and they worked their backsides off to get it up to the wing, and away they went.
Yeah, Lucas has just gone for another pizza shape. He's very happy with proceedings at the moment.
No, it's the brainwave's gone, actually.
How many possessions? What's his stats, Phillips?
That's got to be 10th touch. 2 goals, 1.
Oh, well, get in the queue.
Super catch up, Jackson.
Very good. Keep it going, boys.
His brother's at St Kilda, isn't he, Finey?
Yes. He's not quite as good as this one, though, Ed.
Could St Kilda beat Footscray this weekend?
Very disappointing round one. A great effort by North Melbourne there, but it wasn't good effort. St Kilda just absolutely shot themselves in the foot. So both teams were very disappointing. You'd expect a bit of a response from the pair of them. I'll tell you what, though, Eastern Woods are big out on top of Lockie Hunter.
Yeah. And I like.
I've got to ask. I saw Robertson is out. Does anybody know why? Because we know that he only had that one game back from seemingly career-ending heart problems. Does anybody know why he's not playing?
He didn't have a great game.
Yeah, that could be part of it, of course.
He just listed his own minute.
Great game at all. But yeah, that's. I just hope it's not a health issue. That's all.
I think they're going to improve him this year.
I think
he's been a bad coach, and they've recruited well. And if they get the players right, they'll be a very good side this year.
Yeah, he's supporting staff.
3 players with bleached hair. They've been injecting White King.
How did you spend your days, Trev? There was a lot of time on our hands over the last few months.
Oh, well, luckily racing kept going, so we were kept going during lockdown. I'm sitting on the couch watching races. There's nothing changed here.
Yeah, the tab account, Trev, would have got the Jane Fonda workout from you, I reckon.
Absolutely, but up and down, up and down,
Up and down.
and only up when I'm putting money in.
The old Middle Park tab never disappoints.
Well, they still haven't opened. I mean, what's their excuse?
It's unbelievable, isn't it? I can't believe they're not open. I've been going to tabs all my life, well, since I was 14, and there's never more than 3 blokes in them nowadays anyhow.
Well, exactly, there's never more than 5 blokes ever in the Middle Park tab, on Melbourne Cup Day 6.
Yeah, I mean...
What are they doing? I want to get some money out of my account.
And it's me and the same other 3 blokes as well, so we could easily work out, we could track each other. There's Rocky the hairdresser. There's Wins and Win, some tall bloke that always wins and complains about the dividend, so we call him Wins and Win. And then there's the taxi driver who's in and out all afternoon. Every time he gets a fare, he comes back to the tote and has a punt. We're the only 4 blokes in there.
Well, it's about time they loosen the shackles, I would say.
Yeah, open up TA. I agree. Open up TABs straight away.
Or is this just part of the plan? They're not going to open up the TABs. They've shut down telephone betting. They're just corralling everyone onto the internet.
I hear you, brother. Don't worry about it.
On a league multi, and it was 2 days before the meeting, and they refused to take my bet. New protocol. I'm saying, so you can put up a market for people to bet on, but when I ring up to take my bet, you don't take my bet because for the reason of convenience. Anyway, I'm saying the person that told me they wouldn't take my bet, didn't just take my bet.
You know why they don't take your bet, Trevor? Because you win.
Nothing to do with that. There's protocol just to make it harder.
But a lot of these bookies, these corporate bookies, if you start winning consistently, it's very hard to get on.
Yeah. No, they get rid of you as quick smart.
Yeah, I've never had that problem, by the way. I'm much sought after by all of them.
But here's the thing, Finey, when it's not even that sort of problem. You can do, you can do your dough for months and months, and then suddenly you have a win, and then they get rid of you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got up. I tell you what, bookies used to live and die by their courage. But these new mobs, it's all about volume and getting mum and pup in because they're mugs.
Well, in the days of Alan Trick running the local establishment, his theory was that you just let them keep betting because eventually they lose. And you know what? He's right.
Yeah. Brucey McHugh worked that out with Kerry Packer.
He had to retire. He nearly had a heart attack after Kerry wanted to bet him to win 10 mil.
Oh, yeah, I'm saying, well, he did the right thing. He did retire. And Kerry went over there in front of him and said, how dare you? I still want to bet with you. And he goes, there's no use, Kerry. In the end, you're just going to keep betting more and more until you win. I can't win against you. I'm ahead now. And if I don't stop now, you will eventually get me because you've got limitless funds.
Well, Bruce was also like about 82 at the time, and his heart couldn't stand the pressure.
Well, Packer accepted it. Packer said, no, fair enough.
Well, he had no choice. He handed his license.
Yeah, I'm saying there's nothing he could do. But, well, what did he do? He went to America and kept getting knocked back every time he wanted to put $500,000 on a hand of blackjack. Oh, sorry, sir, we don't take those bets. You will when I buy this casino.
20-minute quarters, aren't they, guys? Or
Mate.
16? 15 minutes with time on, isn't it?
16.
Yeah.
Under 12s.
Yeah.
Look at Richmond.
It should be 20 minutes.
Richmond.
What are your thoughts, KB, on the recent custodian of your number, mate, Shay Bolton?
he's a good young player, isn't he? And he's sharp. He can take. He's got a terrific leap. He can.
Yeah.
I know when they first recruited him, Troy, that Brendan Gale said to me, he said he'll take the mark of the year one day. He'll jump that high. It took him a couple of years to find his feet, but really found his niche last year and came into the side and did very well. So he's one of those sharp players where the Tigers have really built their forward line around pace, haven't they, with Castagna and the likes of Butler when he was there, who's now at St Kilda. Lynch has just kicked his second goal, so they're within 3 goals now, the Tigers. But Bolton's he's one of those players that is just going to bob up and kick a couple of goals. So it seems that those sorts of players are really important in clubs now.
He just looks to me last year and obviously the start of this year, he just looks more comfortable in himself. He looks like he belongs.
Yeah. Well, look, he hasn't played 50 games yet. And I think when by the time you play 50 games, you sort of get a really good feel for it, and you feel that you belong then. A couple of seasons of playing in the seniors, which he hasn't done yet. But, the fact that he's played in a premiership, would sort of probably bring that along a little bit more. But, it takes a while to settle in. A young Indigenous boy. There's always been huge raps on him. He certainly is very talented. And along with the likes of Rioli, I mean, those sorts of players, they just add that little bit of magic to your side. He's outstanding. I think he's going to be a good player for a long time.
Yeah. I heard KB
Tigers,
once, you don't find your feet till you play your 275th.
Well, still, I mean, when you talk about, do you feel comfortable? I mean, when players first come into the side, I mean, there's a good mark taken there too by my check. But just to feel that you can get the pace of the game, and most of the time, I mean, you're young and a little bit fragile. You're not strong enough and get knocked around a little bit. But by the time you played 50 games, which is 2 full seasons, it matures you a lot. That's when you can really start having an impact. That's why when clubs, draft these young kids at 18 years of age, for most of them, they're probably not going to have an impact on your footy club until you're about 21 years of age. There's not that many Joel Selwoods who come in, at 18 years of age and, start straight away.
No, it's just that KB, that obviously Renee, 16 years of age, playing in a preliminary final. That must have been an incredible experience, Renee. How did you feel running out that day?
Well, I had a fair bit of pre-publicity, and for me it was a reasonably normal sort of week in some respects, because you join in training and you do everything that is required of you. And Neil Mann was the coach then, of course. Yep. And I think I just was focused on going out there and doing my very best. And I would have liked to have kicked maybe an extra 1 or 2, but it didn't matter because the game changed in the second half. But to what I remember of running out in front of 90,000, it was something really, really special, and not many people get that opportunity.
No, I mean you didn't have a 16-year-old's body, though. I mean,
no, that's right.
You were well prepared.
Were you saying, Finey, he was a man in a boy's body?
He was Anthony Bannock plus some. I'll tell you, and let me tell you, Anthony Bannock unfortunately never hit the heights, but Rene could play the football to match the physique. He was a really exciting young footballer. In fact, no more exciting player in the league there during his teen years. It was thrilling to watch him play. That goal at Waverley.
Yeah.
Rene, what happened? What happened the following? Oh, sorry, missed that one. What happened the following year after you took over from Peter McKenna at full forward in that 73 preliminary final? Did you play full forward the following year? What happened with Macca?
Oh, look, I can't remember now, but 74, 75 were in and out seasons for one reason or another. I can't exactly remember. I have spoken about it. I think Collingwood, we were up and down. We weren't a great side. 76, I played in the seconds premiership because Murray Wheaton was the coach. And we had an outstanding second side because quite a few of the boys were very happy to stay and play in the seconds, where, of course, we finished on the bottom of the ladder in the seniors. And then the following year, we turned it around because Tommy came in and, we all became men overnight. You know why, Kevin? You've played under him and you've coached yourself, and you're very were very close friends with Tommy. And just everything changed, and everyone's career absolutely blossomed because we became one. We became a unit. We became a very special side, and once again, we were unlucky not to win some premierships.
Do you win the premiership if Phil Carman doesn't get reported?
Oh, of course we do. Of course we do. Carmen's the best player I've ever seen in my life. I love Darryl Baldock. He was a bit before my time. I love Ian Stewart. But Carmen was something special. He was unique as an athlete before footballers became athletes. He can do anything, everything. I unfortunately had to play centre half forward time and time again at 6'1", where Carmen was there alongside me. But of course, Phil just took off and ran anywhere he wanted to play. And next when he was in the forward pocket, next when he was up the halfback flank doing things, and it put a fair bit of pressure on me. But to watch him do what he did, he was just by far the best player I've seen. And unfortunately, probably the nuttiest, if using the right terminology, he was just went sideways all the time. Very hard to control, as you're probably aware, Kevin, the stories Tommy's told at the time. But if we had him inside, he's 3 or 4 goals every week for Carmen, as you know, or he was. And he was a big loss, and we've let him know too, in no uncertain terms over the years. We certainly have as a group and as individuals. He let us down badly.
It's
Just
almost
on that, Troy, you'd probably know this. Was he the first player to wear white boots?
He was, and I think the next player to wear the white ones was Big Sam Newman. And the story goes that Teddy Whitten and Murray Plant presented Phil Carman with the boots, and I think Phil said, "Mate, you're kidding me. I can't wear these." So I thought there might have been a financial inducement there for Fabulous, and suddenly he popped up in the white boots.
And where did he pop up?
First game in the white boots, I believe, was against the Bombers, and the following week was that famous game where he kicked 11 against the Saints at Moorabbin.
What a game. George Young kicked 9. It was hammer and tongs all day.
Wow.
Oh, that was a heck of a game. We're almost half-time here, and Richmond really haven't they haven't pulled a lot back here, Kevin. What do they need to do? They just don't look themselves, the Tigers. They need a goal here. I'll tell you what.
Oh,
Marriott, third.
There you go.
Well, who's the third quarter?
Yep.
Got another one.
Well, I'd take the big fella straight off him because he's nowhere near him.
That's handy. That'll give him some.
Pretty handy goal with 28 seconds to go in the quarter.
Shouldn't happen, Kevin.
Penny for your thoughts, bud.
Yeah,
That's
they're going to have to.
disappointing.
You got to create your own energy here now, don't you, Richmond? Normally the crowd would be on their feet and razzing them up just before half time. So it's up to the players really to create that energy going into half time, isn't it, Kev? And Rene and Trevor and Lucas.
Yeah, but is that even a thing? I mean, when you play junior footy, you run out there, you play the game. It doesn't matter if there's a crowd there or not.
I used to play in front of 45.
I mean, when you're a schoolyard playing footy, does it matter if there's no crowd, or you going for it anyway? See the ball, get the ball, see the bloke, whack the bloke.
Yeah, true, but
I personally think Lynch is a terrific player. He was such a great get for Richmond.
Fantastic, yeah.
Absolutely, but Roughhead, he's just a player, and it's 3 goals that Lynch has kicked on him, and he hasn't been anywhere near him. Roughhead.
You've turned, Reno.
Sometimes you forget how big Lynch is. He's about 6'7".
Yeah, well, Roughhead's not a small boy either, but oh please, you
There
don't
you
think
go.
he kicked, like the first two goals were too easy, and that one's even the same. So anyway, good game now.
Yeah, a good game. I'm going outside for some extra COVID protection.
Give my best to Mr. Benson.
Have you got a half-time summary, Kev? Have you got one?
Well, I think at halftime, what we can say is that, Collingwood have been on top in the first half, but, to only lead by 14 points at halftime, I think the Tigers will go in there quite happy with that because, Collingwood's been really dominating. The Tigers really struggled, didn't even score a point in the first. They scored 1 point in the first quarter. And at some stage, you're going to get your window of opportunity. And I don't think that window of opportunity yet has come from the Tigers. That 10 or 15 minutes in a game when you actually dominate the game. That hasn't happened yet. They're within 14 points. So Collingwood's certainly the better side in the first half. But I think there's signs in that second quarter that the Tigers will go in at halftime quite happy with the fact they kicked that last goal by Lynch, who's got 3. And I still think the Tigers have a very good chance of winning this game.
Yeah, it certainly will be an interesting second half, that's for sure.
Fellas, what really shits me are these short quarters. Honestly, there's no rationale behind it anymore. They're not playing more than one game a week. Football is not played over 16 minutes and time on. It's not. And Sam Mitchell's, and we know that Gil McLaughlin said it's unlikely it's not going to happen next year. Now, Sam Mitchell spoke very passionately about this. Takes away one of the real great tests of footy, endurance and strength at the end of the quarter. There's business to be done still in this quarter, but it's over. I agree. I particularly dislike it. What do you reckon?
Oh, look, I'm on the same page as that. I think it's terrible. They're going to play 20 minutes, then play time on, and that's what makes the game exciting. It's just, what do you want to call it? Red time in football every quarter is so paramount. It's crucial that teams toughen up, get tight, and become the team they end up being at the end of the year. That's the grand finals possible.
And Kevin, I know you're a big fan.
Well, I can't believe when people talk about 16-minute quarters in AFL football. It just about does my head in. We used to play 25 minutes in time on. Now we're down to 20 minutes in time on, and now it's 16 minutes in time on. Very shortly, people will want 12-minute quarters so that, it's a 48-minute game, and with a couple of breaks, the game's over within an hour. Game of Australian rules football has got to have a fatigue factor. That's the way it was designed to be played. It's unique and it's a quirky game, and we don't have to follow other games. That's why the game is very, very special.
Well said. Well said. It's like twisties. Every year there's less twisties in the packet. Thank you, twisties.
Couldn't quite hear you, Finey.
But there's less bloody twisties in the packet. In the end, you'll be buying a bit of air with some cheese in it, a little bit of cheese flavouring. Same with footy.
Someone made a comment on screen before. Is Brent Croswell still alive, Kevin? Is he still with us?
Oh, yes. He's down in Tasmania. Brent?
Yeah, yes. Someone made a comment. You might have seen it. Brent. Yeah, he was a great player, wasn't he?
He was an extraordinary player. I think he was 17 when he came across from Tassie, played with Carlton in the centre, and won that grand final in 68. And then we've always got visions of him, haven't we, at North Melbourne, running from full forward to full back, wasn't it? To run down and play, and he charged down the ground. He was one of those mercurial players, a great player. In fact, there was an article the other day, someone was suggesting the other day, talking about, with the Hall of Fame, of course, which has been pretty topical, that, someone like Brent Croswell is not in the Hall of Fame yet, but he was an extraordinary player, both ends of the ground, and also playing in the midfield. So he was a little bit ahead of his time.
He made one of the most amazing admissions post his career that I've ever heard a footballer make. And that was that he found a football season quite, the whole 22 weeks and finals boring. I mean, he was a big game player. Yeah. And he said he used to like getting rubbed out mid-season for 2 or 3 weeks just to freshen up. And he'd go and headhunt. Go and have a look at his record. It's true. He used to get rubbed out most seasons for 3-4 weeks. And he said he did it by choice because he just got bored of the long season.
And they were fairly obvious rub-outs too. He didn't muck around when he got rubbed out.
Yeah, I don't think he offered much of a defence there
at the
football
tribunal.
house
Yeah.
or whatever it was.
He loved the big stage, Kevin Renee, didn't he, Brent Croswell? I'll never forget the 75 grand final, North Melbourne's inaugural, their first win. And he was, if there was a Norm Smith medal, I think he might have had dibs on that.
Yeah, and Kekovic was massive in that as well. He was a colossus, wasn't he?
Yeah. And, they had some fair players, North, back then, didn't they, in the 70s?
Oh, yeah. Well, of course, in 77, he went out and recruited, Cable and the likes. And, he got away with blue murder there, recruiting all those guys in 1 year. Well, he did. He honestly did. He's so many you can name. I name half the side that he recruited.
Well, the 10-year
under the 10-year rule, I just couldn't hear what Finey and Troy were saying. Then I've just lost a bit of audio, but I just heard you talking about what North Melbourne did with recruiting. They recruited 3 captains in the 1 year: Johnny Rantall, Barry Davis, and Doug Wade. 3 captains changed sides and clubs, which was quite extraordinary. Got another one, have you, Finey? Can't quite hear.
Teddy Whitten. Now, Teddy Whitten went down there as well. And apparently...
No, I've lost audio with Finey.
Have you picked it? Can you pick it up again? Oh, that's a pity. It's because Ted Whitten went down there.
They had their clause into Carl, didn't they? They offered Carl.
Yeah, they offered Carl, but Ted Whitten went down there, and Ron Barassi said, look, you're going to have to probably start in the 2s. And Ted Whitten said, Ron, we're through. But he was going to play for them. Yep, he was going to run out for them as well.
Wow.
Mr. and Mrs. Football together. That would have been something.
With those brown paper bags, mate, they were in plentiful supply back in the early 70s.
Yeah, well, they signed them on the napkin, didn't they?
Yeah, on the napkin, yeah.
At the Melbourne Travel Lodge, or?
Yeah, I think Ian Johnson had the Travel Lodge back then. He was a North Melbourne benefactor.
Yep. Ron Joseph,
and I think they're Barry Cheatley.
Yep.
Albert Mantello, Johnny Dugdale.
But, of all those players, they picked up all those. Well, they picked up Davis, Rantall, and Dougie Wade. They were the headline players. But they picked up a bloke from WA via Fitzroy Twos, via Warrnambool, via Tassie, and he was as good as any of them with Johnny Burns.
John Burns. Terrific.
How good was he?
He was sensational in the 75 grand final, John Burns.
Well, you know what they did? He had a bad shoulder going into that game.
He did, yeah.
So they strapped up the other. They strapped
up the other shoulder.
So they went the good shoulder the whole day.
Okay,
there was another guy who was pretty handy too, Peter Chisholm.
Oh yeah, he was as tough as nails, Renee. Chizza.
He was very good, and he talked it up too. And he wasn't afraid to let the opposition know, but also more importantly, he let his own teammates know that this is war. Let's go.
Did
I really like him as a player.
Did you bump into him out on the field, Renee? Chizza? Did you come across him?
Oh, not really. He was more or less on baller type thing, and he came down to the forward line, but never come across him. But he could always be heard.
Did you ever line up? You ever line up on Crazy Horse, Gary Cowton?
Yeah, I think a few times Gary may have come on to me or came off me at different times. Yeah, he was always hard to play on. A big, strong man. Robust, hard at the ball. Yeah, he was hard to play on.
Who usually lined up on you, Renee, when you played the Kangas?
I'm just trying to.
Well,
Stephen Nick,
Stephen Nick,
Montgomery, Coughton, who else?
Frank Gumbleton ever come across?
No, not Frank, really, no. I think he's more in the back pocket.
Ross Henshaw?
But, Ross Henshaw, yes, very much so. And they're all 6'2", 6'3" plus players. I'm 6'1", and yeah, it was hard work. It was always hard work. It was like when I played against Geelong. They had Boss, Jack Hawkins. I'm trying to think of a couple others on the halfback line, and every time I came off against Geelong, I knew I was in a war.
Yeah,
because I had to bash and crash so often because I'm playing 6'1". Hawkins is 6'5". Bossy, similar sort of height. I can't think of the other couple of guys down there at the time.
Malarkey, did you ever come across him?
Gary was full back, but I've mainly played some half forward on the forward line against Geelong. But boy, geez, I knew I was in a game when I played Geelong. But it was only also because I had to do a lot of hard work and hard yards myself to create the spaces.
Well, wouldn't have been easy against Carlton, the flying doormat.
Yeah, I didn't play against. I mainly played on Clompy, and he played me very, very close most times. Peter McConville a little bit. Once again, both Peter's far more skilled player, but they're both very hard to play on because they never gave you an inch. They're always shoulder to shoulder, and if you ran, they ran with you, and they made sure they did, inside you or outside you, whatever they had to be. So, they were tough gigs, of course.
Kenny Hunter, how about him?
Oh, what a player. Ken Hunter.
Because you also, getting back to Collingwood, Tommy looked at getting Teasdale, he looked at Alan Edwards, he got Kekovich across, who else? He had a number of players that he chased to possibly play centre half forward. And, of course, they were either, broken down or had injuries trying to get over and get them fixed. And time again, those guys that I'm talking about just didn't cut it, didn't make it. They played a few games for us here and there, but they weren't what we needed. That was a true 6'3", 6'4" centre half forward, such as Alan Edwards would have been terrific. But poor old Alan left his best at Richmond, and his knee was absolutely shot. But Tommy got him across, of course.
Are you telling me that Dale Woodall was no good?
Woodall, keep it quiet, not too loud.
It was from Queensland,
He looked good.
Yeah. Him and Gary Shaw.
I don't know if you're aware of this, Kevin, but in 1980, we came from fifth to play Richmond in the grand final, and we got there through a lot of hard work in a very hot summer. And you had, I think, Rudy Webster looking after you, didn't he? Doing the psycho on you.
Yes.
Yeah, we were I think we had Lee Saxon maybe at the time. I can't remember, but we were pretty shot. And, of course, you're aware of the way Tommy had trained us leading into the grand final, like he did with every other grand final.
But Tommy would say that he trained Collingwood players no differently than he trained the Richmond players, and he won 4 premierships.
Well, that's nice for him to say that. And things have changed, times have changed. But what came out of that was Michael Woolnough played in that grand final, and he had 2 weeks off nearly because he went to Brisbane for work and he couldn't get out of it. And he came back and he was our best player that day against Richmond. I think he had 17 or 18 possessions and kept getting the ball and busting his puppet to give his best. Not terribly endowed with skill and super ability, but he came from Geelong that Tommy got him up there. But we made a point of talking about it later on because he was so fresh coming out and playing in that grand final, and he ran all day and he was jumping out of his skin, and we remember it and speak about it to this day. We do.
Yeah, Ricky Barham hurt his hamstring, didn't he, early in the game, and sort of went off and tried to come back on a couple of times. Yeah, tried to come back on a couple of times. So, Rene, you're suggesting you reckon Tommy trained you too hard going into the grand final?
Oh, look, Tommy trained us most times as you'd expect, but in grand final week and leading up to grand finals, preliminary final week, we just overtrained, I believe. we just did too much for too long, and it's like 1977. I think the second grand final, North trained Tuesday, and they did very little on the Thursday because there's only 2 nights that time during the week that we trained. And I remember Tommy, you know, was it somewhere around 15 to 22, 23,000 at Victoria train that night, grand final week, grand final night. And you know, we all talk about it. We all remember. You know, we just overtrained. Yeah.
What I do remember a bit about the 1980 grand final was that you played quite well early, Collingwood, but you missed some goals early. It was a bit windy, a bit blustery early. I reckon Ray Shaw might have hit the post 2 or 3 times himself, and I think Craig Davis hit the post. There was a couple of players hit the post, which sort of didn't give you enough momentum, you know, as the game went on.
Yeah, that's right. We did miss some early goals, but we didn't have the momentum as the game went on because it was a hot day, if you remember, and you turned it on, and I think Stan Magro and Kevin Morris are still looking for you. I think they're having a cocktail in the Hilton Hotel as you turned and burnt them off and left them for dead. But that's football, and you were magnificent. Richmond were magnificent, and once again, you know, we did a great job to get there from 5th. There's only 5 in the comp that year, remember? But we were certainly very, very flat. You know, there was no excuse.
But I thought, Rene, like last year when the Giants got to the grand final against Richmond, that they were cooked by the time they got to the grand final. They had some injured players playing on the day. They had some very good players out. And I always thought that, you know, like you did, that Collingwood did a great job to get through to the grand final in 1980. And by the time you got there, you know, by missing some easy goals in the first quarter or hitting the post a few times, you know, you just didn't have enough on the scoreboard, and then all of a sudden, you know, the tide legs kick in, and it was a bit of a tough afternoon for the Pies. But the year that you had to get through to the grand final in itself was a pretty good achievement, a big achievement.
Oh, it was huge, and you know, I remember very, very well that when you guys got up and going, and we were struggling. By geez, you just ran all over us, and there wasn't anything we were going to do to change the outcome or the way you played. And you know, you guys grew another heart, and off you went. It was just fantastic. You know, it's a bit like 1983 when I was at Essendon, and Hawthorn did the same to us. A bit inexperienced, never been in a grand final for a lot of the guys. And, of course, Sheeds turned it around and made an example of that particular defeat and said that'll never happen again at Essendon. And, of course, they went on in 84 and 85 and won the premiership. So.
But, I mean, you were there in 84, weren't you?
Yeah, I had bad knees. I only played a couple of games in the seconds and I think one night game. And then the following year I played 14 games, but Kevin and I didn't get on at all. Yeah, so
what was that, Rene? Because obviously he would have gone out of his way to recruit you for a specific reason.
Oh, look, Kev, you know, it's one of those things I really don't want to talk about because I don't need to be detrimental to anything or anyone, and it's something that I don't really want to talk about. And I just put it down that
personality clash.
Well, yeah, call it personality or call it of lack of communication or something. I don't know. But, yeah, then I went on to St Kilda and played 7 games there, which I really didn't want to play at St Kilda. I was mentally and physically burned out, but Bill Stevens and Graham Jelly said come down and give us a chop out, which I did. But, you know, my heart wasn't in it. I just struggled throughout the whole year. A couple of small injuries I had during the year, which weren't major, but I walked out the gates of St Kilda when I was 29. I said, never again. I've had enough. I'm mentally and physically burnt out.
Did you meet Finey when you were at St Kilda?
I don't think I did. No, we didn't come across each other.
I've got to apologise. I said something very, very, you know, he's a great bloke, Rene, and I said something terrible about Rene, but we were a terrible team. And I said the only reason he's at St Kilda is because of Zelly. Who was the coach?
Well, Finey, you remember, look, you'd been through a fair bit financially. They reached out for a coach. They got Graham. I thought Graham was a ripper player until he did his knee.
Well, in 78, he was outstanding, and he did his knee. Yeah, he was the best first-year player, but he couldn't coach. He couldn't coach a choco vine over a back fence. Fair dinkum.
Yeah, and it was also one of the wettest winters I can remember ever playing football. Bill Stevens was a delightful person, but chairman of selectors. But I think Bill had his time and probably should have hung up the boots many years earlier, in that role. Of course, we had a lot of the Carlton players there, as you know, from Wow to Marcoux to McConville, it goes on and on and on. And
don't worry about that. I picked up the paper once and they said Fitzpatrick and Buckley are leaving Carlton to come to St Kilda. But it was frigging Peter Fitzpatrick and Mark Buckley.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's right. And, the year was what it was, and I just got through it. And I was happy to walk in.
It was hard going. No, hey, Kevin, that was a great point you made about the 1980 grand final, about Ray Shaw hitting the post early a couple of times. Because if those would have gone through, they only would have lost by 70 points.
Well, if you kick some early goals, you get a bit of confidence up, and sometimes you run on top of the ground.
Yeah, this place kicked.
The game's underway in the third quarter anyway, and it's 34-19. The Pies are still in front, and De Goey's just kicked the point.
Well, that was a lax handball by Lambert. I haven't seen a lot of him. Look at Pendlebury in traffic. Oh. You need him.
They can't touch
He
him.
should be a lollipop man at one of those school intersections. You get those kids across the crossing very nicely. Elliot, good mark. Oh, they've got to pay that. They've got to pay that, don't they? You're kidding.
Is that a mark?
I thought it was Mark, yeah.
You know what's been incredible tonight, fellas? Kevin Bartlett's bladder. I've seen him have a can of Coke, a can of Solo, 2 cups of tea, and he hasn't left these.
He's had 4 Hershey bars as well, too.
He has not left that seat.
He's got his cuppa.
He's got a good bladder.
He'll be good in.
I agree with you. I agree with you. That should have been a mark for Elliot. I mean, Collingwood were robbed then.
Here we go. They're ready.
Oh.
Nobody.
Yeah,
Another one.
Again.
How many times did he land? Oh.
Oh, dear. That takes the wind out of you, doesn't it?
It certainly does, fine.
Yes.
Right, Kennedy's done that.
Luckily, he had a few tattoos there to break his fall.
Just a quick stat for you, KB. Who's kicked the most goals for the Tigers against the Pies over the journey? Who holds the record? Have you got any idea?
Against which club?
Richmond against the Magpies.
Most goals in total or in an individual game?
In an individual game.
Oh.
Most goals.
I'm going for Kevin Bartlett.
I got no idea.
Oh,
No.
Jack Titus
What's it got?
Jack.
and
Great
Jeffrey Hogg.
Well, he
story.
kicked 978 goals in his career, Jack. He was a fantastic player. I think he played in. I think he might have played in like Renee. I think he played in a premiership for Tigers, but he may have played in 6 losing grand finals.
What's that?
Yeah,
Who's
Jack's
that, Kevin? Oh, Jack
Skinny
Titus. I think Jack played in 6. I played in 6 plus the night one against North Melbourne at Waverley.
You don't count night grand finals, do you?
Well, there was 80-odd thousand there, and I was in the car park I had a flat tyre, I was changing the tyre. Someone yelled out and said, "You've got to come back on the field again." That's how long it siren to go off. Unbelievable. I was at a function once with Gary Buckenara was speaking, and he actually brought up the fact that Waverley had the worst siren system he's ever seen or heard in his career. So not too many people can be wrong if a former player like that says it. And I think everyone remembers that night, North Melbourne Collingwood at Waverley.
Oh, it's fantastic. The siren blew. The light came out, took a bounce, kicked it to Kerry Good, took a mark, went back, and then the umpire blew his whistle to signal full time.
And you know how that all the fans were on the ground when that happened?
He had 300 people on the mark.
One of them was Glenn Archer.
Yeah.
True story.
I was standing around the centre when that happened, and I clearly heard the siren, and the ball wasn't in his hands.
You should have told the umpire. He would have taken your word.
And that's but the thing is, that's what's so glorious about it. We know you're robbed, and that's actually what we love. You found another way to lose one.
Because all you guys, particularly you, Trevor, would say that Harm certainly wasn't over the boundary when he hit the ball. The ball wasn't.
Oh no, I love that. No, I love that. I reckon he was out. But yeah, that's another way. That's another way to lose. We all know he was out.
So that was like our 27th lost grand final or something. I don't know.
But that was the Renee. Talking as I was a youngster, at school, anyone who had no idea about football, barracked for Collingwood because they were always on top of the ladder. And all year they were in your face. They were giving it to you while they were beating you hollow, through my home and away. We had 1 week a year where we could pay them all back.
So you reckon it was worth waiting 1 week a year, Trev?
Well, it was just the saving grace, and it just that you can find so many ways not to win a grand final when you absolutely deserve to win a few of them.
Well.
They were the best team all year, every year, and just couldn't get it done.
Yes, you're right. Yep.
Happy days. Wonderful memories, Trevor.
Absolutely.
I'd rather be walking down Lygon Street having a free cappuccino than having rotten eggs thrown at me by the Carlton store owners over many years.
Like it was tough yards in those days for a North supporter, Finey. I remember 1972, I was a kid at school, and traditionally, if your team won, then you wore your jumper to school on the Monday. And I waited till round, whatever it was, 17, 19, before we finally won a game, our first game and only game for the whole year. And I proudly put on my school jumper and walked to school. And I turned up, and there was nobody else wearing footy jumpers. And they looked at me and went, "Oi, the school photos today. You're supposed to be wearing your uniform, you suck."
You're talking to the wrong supporter, mate. I barrack for the Mighty Saints.
Well, mate, your suffering's the greatest, but I do identify.
Grand finals, one drawn grand final, more spoons than a bloody MasterChef semi-final. We've had more heartbreak, more disasters. You name it, we can do it.
No, don't worry, mate. Your suffering is the greatest.
You can't be worse than that.
Mind you, you could barrack for Melbourne.
You could barrack for Melbourne.
Yeah, but at least they've got some history.
One round, 7 changes for this week.
Yeah, it's a lot of changes, isn't it?
That's a lot of changes between round 1 and round 2.
Yeah.
It's a pretty close game.
What we got here? This is why I don't like these short quarters.
I don't know, boys. I reckon Richmond is starting to get on top here.
It's, to be honest, it's not pulsating stuff. It's not great. It's a bit of a war of attrition.
Yeah. Plenty of keeping offers.
Yeah. Somebody's got to take the game by the scruff of the neck, Renee. You are, by the way, the greatest Renee to have ever played Australian rules football.
Well, I think I'm lucky that I'm just about the only one, Mark. Is that right?
Well, I'm sure there are others somewhere.
Not that I'm aware of.
That's like saying.
You mean talking AFL, VFL?
Well, just the greatest ever. The greatest Renee to pull on a boot.
That's what I'm saying.
Until AFLW.
Yeah. Well,
What's the derivation of kink? What nationality is that?
oh, my mother's Latvian and my father's Estonian.
Latvian and Estonian.
Yep.
Are they going through a border?
I think they may.
I was born in Sydney.
He's born in Italy.
Oh, okay. All right.
I was born in Sydney. They came out after the war in 50, and I was born in 56.
That's great though. It was a land of opportunity, and who would have? I can guarantee you, there was no thought of producing a champion footballer back in Estonia or Latvia.
No, well,
would have been tough times.
it's funny. It's funny that Renee brings up Latvia. That my brother-in-law Renee, his descendants are from Latvia. Arnold Brightus.
Arnold Brightus. I was just about to say that. Spot on.
He's Latvian.
Yeah, he's a Latvian. Yep. Great player too, wasn't he? 77. God, he could have absolutely put us to bed very early. Arnold.
Yeah, he was hot and cold, Renee. But when he was hot, he was red hot.
Yeah, he was a very, very good player. I liked him as a player. Yep. And his brother played too, of course. Robert.
That was a bad mistake.
Robert, that's right. Yeah.
Bad mistake by Myercheck there, wasn't it? Just playing.
It was funny sort of kick, wasn't it?
Yeah, we got smothered. Goal now, that'd be tough. It'd be hard work for Richmond to pull it back again, but
Stelvo, Richmond, where did he come from? He's got an interesting career coming to Richmond, wasn't it? He came from country club or a VFL club? Stelvo?
Soldo. Ivan Soldo.
Well, he's Ivan Maric's cousin. And
right.
And Ivan Maric suggested that he come down. He's got a basketball background, as men do. And Ivan suggested come down and have a try, and he's made a bit of a career out of being second ruckman.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's
Where did you come from?
Well, they're from St Albans, Ivan and his family. So he might. Ivan's president of the St Albans Soccer Club.
Okay.
They're Croatian.
Just 20 going.
They've got to do something near Richmond. They've still only got the one bloke kick a goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, the game's starting to get played in their half, though.
Who was the last player to kick all his team's goals? Don't say us.
Mark Arsieri at the Western Oval for Carlton.
Yeah, one goal in
Really?
mind.
Yeah, with 90 seconds to go.
How many did he kick?
One.
One goal.
Who's the last player to do it was? There's one for.
Sent them out there with one goal in mind.
I know Plugger kicked 12 out of 14 and I lost to Melbourne.
12 out of 14.
No, we lost. Last game of the year against Melbourne. He could play that way.
So what's the update, Lucas? The Phillips stat sheet. What's happening?
I haven't looked at it too recently, but I'll give it
Oh,
a check.
mate, I reckon he's already got 20.
Yeah, it's close to it.
I reckon he's almost BLG.
I think Cochin's a bigger worry.
Cochin's up to 15.
And Phillips, how many?
What a shocking kick.
Phillips only got 11.
Phillips only 11. He just
He
did the
died
brick.
out of it.
He's hit a brick wall since full time. He dominated. Now he's gone. I reckon Richmond on top here, boys.
Well, this is now go time.
16 minutes, by the way.
Richmond supporter in the room. Has Rewald had possession? How many possessions does Rewald have?
Is he out there?
He just flew for the mark then.
He's got 4 touches at the moment.
Really quiet. Oh, boy. It's a big game, isn't it? Presty up. He was BOG round 1, I think.
Presty, yeah.
I don't think he's been BOG round 2.
Hey, Mark, this Nakia Cocker too at Geelong, is he going to be all right or not? I reckon he's a bit of a... Yeah.
I saw him in his first season play a game against St Kilda. Oh boy, can he play. But you know, plenty of good footballers have been done by bad hamstrings.
Is that Noble?
He's got the skill, hasn't he? Like all Aboriginal.
Oh yes, he does. He does.
But just a bit light in the body.
Well, some bodies aren't made for footy. It's a pretty rigorous game. You know, this game might not be as physically dangerous as the one you played, but it's very demanding. They run all day and they've still got to be strong in the contest.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. Get back with this, KB.
Dropped it.
Well, it's not a practice match, I can tell you
Missed his hand. Just touch him over yourself.
that. You love Collingwood, Trev.
I got him in Supercoach.
Ah, is that why you blew him?
Exactly. That's a whole new dimension.
Isn't Supercoach and all those dreams
against Collingwood except for 4 players.
Yeah, I know. I'm in the comp as well. But isn't it all different now with the shorter quarters? You've got to readjust your points expectations.
Well, I'm prepared to declare it a failure, the shorter quarters. I mean, really, 34 to 20, come on. Why is that improving the game? We love footy, but we can see less of it.
Yeah, it's a joke.
Yeah, okay. Well, what does this actually do? Is this protecting anyone from coronavirus by shortening the quarters? Or is that just crap?
Trevor, give me an example where shorter is better in any walk of life.
Well, exactly.
Oh, it's a red off this one.
Shorter. That's great. I've never heard that.
Well, isn't that right, Barney? I mean, they say that size doesn't matter, but you never see a 2-inch vibrator.
All right, I'm using that one. That's very good.
Yeah, give me the small white one.
You see, Trev, it's third quarter, but we finally got a bit of behind the bar, Trev.
That's fantastic.
I like it.
We like this fella.
He's shy.
Here they go.
Number 29, KB.
He did it for Todd Menegola.
One of the things, though, an observation, I'd like to get your thoughts on this. I mean, Collingwood's 34 and the Tigers are 26, so they've kicked 4 goals. I think Collingwood's kicked 5. These are the two best, arguably the two best sides in the competition. Should we be getting a better spectacle in terms of scoring?
Yes, I agree, KB. I miss those heavy scores of days gone by.
I just feel that there's just some, you know, the characteristics and the fabric of the game. You know, Australian rules football is a scoring game, and you know we've got the best footballers in the country, the creme de la creme. We've got the best coaches, the best facilities, got fantastic grounds to play on. Yet the style of play seems to, I mean, 5 goals to 4, 2 of the best sides of the competition. We've got 2 minutes to go in the third quarter. Can we do better? I think we can.
Just on heavy scoring, Kev, the co-record holder of that, the most goals in a game for the Tigers against Collingwood was a guy that you coached, Jeff Hogg.
Yes, he kicked 10 goals against Collingwood. I think it was 1991, after Collingwood won the premiership in 1990 at the MCG when they were knocking down the Great Southern Stand.
Yeah.
And we beat Collingwood that day. And Jeffrey was magnificent. He was a tremendous player, Jeff Hogg, for me as coach, because 99% of the time he played full forward. But on the odd occasion when we were really, really struggling down back and, we needed to sort of shore up our defence, put him down back a couple of times. And he played one magnificent game at fullback against Jason Dunstall out at Waverley.
Yeah.
They had always been beating us by, 10 and 12 goals. Hawthorn, they were the powerhouse side of the competition. We were pretty low. But we led just about all day. In the last quarter, we were leading till about the last couple of minutes. We nearly got beaten on the last kick of the day. But Jeff Hogg that day, I think, held Dunstall to 3 goals. And I think he kicked a late goal. So he was a tremendous player. And then, of course, unfortunately, he went to Fitzroy.
Yeah.
And my understanding is that he was in the weights room and he did something to his back, and he really struggled at Fitzroy because of a back injury. But for me, he was a magnificent player.
Yeah, he could play, as you said, KB, he could play both ends of the ground, and to hold Dunstall to 3 goals when Dunstall was in, absolute peak condition, it says a lot about him.
Well, the following year, I wasn't coached the following year. Dunstall kicked 17 against Richmond out at Waverley.
Yeah, and Scotty Turner was he kicked a couple on Scotty that day.
Now, this is big fellas. A goal here just before 3/4 time. It's offline.
Two from behind.
Behind stick. You
He marked it over the line, didn't he?
Yeah, there was a point.
Surely he marked it over the line.
All over the line.
The old high-scoring days between Richmond and Collingwood.
It's well over the line. God.
But do you think, Finey and Renee and Trev, that the game of keepings off and the players around the ball and the little handballs, the little short kicks going backwards and forwards and playing keepings off? I mean, do you think that the game is as good a spectacle? I was watching during the coronavirus. They had on that St Kilda Geelong game out at Waverley, the final. I think it was 1991. It might have been.
Yes,
Lockett at one end. Lockett kicked about 9. And I think at the other end of the ground, Billy Brownless might have kicked 8 or something like that. But it was a magnificent game of football to watch.
Yeah, it was. Did you see Gary Ablett that day? He's a brute. He got Nathan Burke wore a helmet thereafter, and he got taken as well. As good as he was dangerous, Gary Ablett, I'll tell you.
Can they pay this?
Oh, no, he was a dangerous player. Was that over the line?
Oh, it was over the line by 2 feet.
Oh, he's gone. He's done it. There we go. We're up and about. Great story.
Oh, there's a headline.
It's a shock.
Gee, it looked like he marked it. It looked like he marked it well over the line, didn't it?
Oh, of course he did, Kevin. 2 feet over it.
Score review.
Noah's Ark. Well, they had a review, and they gave him the mark.
There we go. What a great story.
Mark from the Ark. Yeah.
Kevin, I haven't liked football for years in terms of the way it's played, from the short kicks to the switch all the time, keeping us off, going backwards all the time. I haven't enjoyed, watching football for years because of that.
Looks
great athletes, great skills. Great, look at it. He's marked for 2 people on the line. Oh.
That's a great decision for the Tigers.
Oh. Have a look at it. The camera's got it on the right angle and everything. It's just a joke. That's why I hate football these days. God, it's hard to watch.
Tigers are coming now, Renee. We might be in front by 2 time.
Honestly.
Got 12 seconds to hit the front. Oh, well.
Great last quarter.
Yeah, no, boys, there's not as much scoring as there used to be. But it's not about the short kicks and backwards. It's about what's happening behind the ball. There's nowhere to go.
Look, we know that
Well,
the
yeah,
game.
I get surprised sometimes when players get within about 55 metres of goal, and then you think, well, they're going to kick this into the goal square. Going to be a contested mark. If it's not a contested mark, the crumb can come to the ground. You can kick it off the ground. You might get a free kick. Could even take the mark, put it to the hot spot, put the opposition under pressure. And then they'll turn around and kick it back to the wing or kick it back to the halfback flank, kick it back to the bloke at centre half back. And I've said this before. I mean, blokes, you can stand around centre half back and you take 8 or 9, 10 marks by yourself, on your chest.
That's right. You have a look at their stats, and they've had 23 possessions or something, but 9 of them came from that sort of thing.
And do you know why that happens, fellas?
Why?
Because coaches hate. There's 3 phases in football. We've got the ball, they've got the ball in contest, correct? Coaches hate when the ball is in contest. They actually prefer when the opposition has it because then they can put their systems in. The only thing that they can't control is when the ball is bouncing free. So they are obsessed with their team maintaining possession because that's their control over the game. That's what they've coached. And that's what's ruined the game, is that there's no bravado because players are scared to lose possession. Turnovers equal not being in the team.
Yeah, Mark, you've got a lot to say there.
And the crazy thing, if you're 10 points down with 3 to 4 minutes to go, then they play exactly the sort of football that everybody wants to see because it's the only football that can win the game.
Yeah.
They take the game on, they kick to a contest because they need to go direct. Now, unfortunately, there are no teams that are backing themselves to win enough 50-50 balls. Even Richmond, even the best team in the comp doesn't back themselves to consistently win contested balls because for a coach, that's the unknown. They're much happier coaches knowing and preparing for what they can control, which is possession. It's horrible.
Yeah, very true, isn't it?
I mean,
That's what makes the game ugly, though.
You know,
Just
imagine when you were playing down forward at your best, you had Carmen on one flank, yourself on another flank. Peter Dacos joins the team. Imagine the guys 50 metres away not kicking the ball down to that forward line, turning around and stopping the play. It just defies logic.
I don't want to be too hard on my teammates, but you got Billy Pickett who's got the ball in his hand. I received one day running down the MCG kicking a drop kick in a final. True story. And Billy Pickett couldn't kick to save himself. He could stop the ball, he could mark the ball, but you reckon he could kick a ball, can handball the ball? Not in a million years. And then you got Ray Byrne and a host of others on the back line that couldn't pinpoint, drop punt the ball as we see it these days. And great stoppers of the ball, of course, because that's why we got to grand finals. But in terms of being able to put the ball into a position that would make it easy for yourself, it just never happened. I'm sorry to say that. It just didn't happen.
What sort of kick did you like leading up to? Did you like? You see, a lot of players nowadays. This was my criticism of Nathan Buckley. He's such a perfectionist that he wanted to rip passes onto people's chest. Where to me, the perfect kick in the forward line is the one that gives the forward the 75-25 advantage. You know, float it out.
That's the ball in front of you, Mark, or out the front of you where you run onto it and you use your pace, you use your skill, you use your hands to take it out in the front of your chest and knock it down. You don't take it, at least you've got the ability to turn this way, turn that way and go on with it. But when you've got players, unfortunately, that I had kicked the ball down to my forward line, it was just, a raffle every time.
Yeah, you compare that to have Darren Jarman coming at you or, even Johnny Platten. They're beautiful, just kicking to advantage. That's all you need to do. to a good forward.
Well, North were blessed in the 70s, Renee, with Barry Cable coming out of the middle with his pinpoint left footers.
Roscoe Tanner.
Well, you had Chisnell, you had Byrne, you had Cable, you had very good players that got the ball down to Phil Baker time and time again, but gave Phil every chance, deep in the centre half forward, the goal square area, because he was such a colossal mark and led to the front and took time and time many marks like Blight did, because the ball was given to them in the right area.
Who was the best disposal by foot in your time when you were playing with Collingwood? Ray Shaw, Peter Dacos?
Oh, look, Dakes could kick the ball either foot, but when you're talking about players who could do anything with the ball either side, was Phil Carman, of course. Left foot and right foot. I played with many players, from Craig Davis right through Ray Shaw, Ricky Barham. It goes on. Great players, but their left foot was always wanting time and time again. But that's why, say someone like Ricky always used his pace to get onto his right foot, because he could. But, if he was caught under pressure left foot, well, it was kick and let's hope and see. Same as Billy Pickett. He couldn't kick a left foot kick and, to save himself. And, of course, these days you look at these players like Sidebottom at Collingwood, and so many of them, they can go either side. Same with the Richmond players, and that's how the game has changed enormously because of their skill factor too.
You were just missed out, but you didn't have to look beyond Ararat to get a good kick at Collingwood.
No, well, I grew up on a bitumen road and a housing commission, kicking a ball and beating two brothers, plastic football, and that's where I learnt my skills. And I was able to come down and kick, well, even up there, kick either foot, any distance, any length, any. So I was lucky. I practiced that, and that was with me, when I was born, I think. So.
Hey, tell us what it was like growing up with that famous prison at Ararat.
The famous Ararat prison. Well, can I tell you some stories about that?
What was it for? The mentally deranged?
Yeah, well, my brother was a psychiatric nurse. He learned his nursing there. He's up at Southport at the Griffiths University Hospital. He's been a psych nurse for 30-odd years.
Yeah, it was for the mentally deranged. That's why it ended up in Collingwood. That's why it ended up in Collingwood Zone.
No. Originally we were Essendon, then it changed and we went to Collingwood right then through the corridor down to Hamilton, Port Fairy, Portland and so on. Otherwise we were up Horsham, Dimbulla way there for a long time, and that changed and Essendon got that. That's why I went to Collingwood. But Arradale was a very bad place. In H Division, that was the criminally insane, where they wore straitjackets and so on. And that's where my brother also did some nursing in there, administrating needles and putting up with the criminally insane. There was one famous guy that went in there who chewed all his ears off. I can't remember him now, just off the top of my head. But my brother's been very lucky. He's only been belted once with a cue stick, a snooker cue, a beard cue up at, where was that? Oh, yeah, that was at Arradale. He got a new patient in who thought he was hitting a bit, and they took him over to the rec room and tried to sort him out. My brother turned his back and he's grabbed the pool cue out of the rack and went whackety whack. My brother nearly lost an eye out of that, but he came out of it all right.
Did your brother play football, Renee?
Not my second oldest brother. My youngest brother came to Collingwood and he was 6'3", and he was good enough to make it. But unfortunately, at the time he came down for the practice match, he had stress fractures and a bit of a shin issue, and he only played a couple of games, and they really didn't have a good look at him, and he didn't give himself a chance. And I was probably a bit too young to sort of say anything to him in terms of saying, "Hang on, guy, you really need to give him a chance," because he had all the skill. He had a big gait on him. once he powered up, he was very quick. But big man, big, strong, solid 6'3" guy. But I certainly can play, kick either foot too. He was very disappointed that it didn't happen, and they should have gave him another chance. He was good enough to make it.
Speaking of disappointed, I think that's what Collingwood's going to be at the end of this.
Oh, it's nearly a throw.
Hey, KB, was that a free kick to win?
Look, I was adjusting my hearing pods here. So I was trying to concentrate, so I'm not of any use to you there on that one.
Who are you tipping here, Troy?
I'm tipping it to draw.
Put on your mic, will you?
Troy, how many draws between Richmond and Collingwood?
I haven't got that handy, KB. Did you play in any draws over your?
Yes. In fact, the very first final played out at Waverley was in 1972, and that was between Richmond and Carlton, and it ended in a draw. And then we had to play Carlton again at the MCG, and we defeated Carlton. But then Carlton came back, of course, famously, won a preliminary final, and then, of course, beat us in the grand final when we kicked 50 goals, 28 goals to 22.
Yeah. But St Kilda in the...
I've got a feeling we may have had a draw with St Kilda in Alex Jeslenko's first game as coach.
Yeah, you did.
At the MCG.
Yeah, he started his career with a draw against Richmond and a narrow win against Essendon.
I remember.
Between Carlton and Richmond, and Carlton has the longest banner along the swim, which was a strange one. It said, "Use the last, you beat Carlton on Sunday." What was going on there? I wonder. That's a cheer score, nothing better.
I remember the St Kilda game because Robert Muir played on me at half back.
Well, that would have been fun. You would have enjoyed that.
I got through and survived.
This was 3 goals.
Oh, 19 goals.
Yeah. Robbie had issues.
Played a good game there, Phillips.
Just set it up to they had a good I can inform you.
Oh.
We had 8 quarter time, he took my 14.
I think we've got the close one here, fellas.
First Mark Grundy's taken around the ground in about 2 years.
So you wouldn't have given him the big bucks and the multiple years?
He can't take a mark around the ground. Have a good look at him week in, week out. He cannot take a mark around the ground.
Very
good, aggressive at the ball. Great tap ruckman. Usually funny.
Oh, Castagna, Lambert. Oh, rough head. He did pretty well. It's a pity because I'm telling you, condition really would have come into the reckoning.
It would have finally. Yeah, you're on. And I just think I saw KB. He's under the Magnums at the moment.
Magnificent. We're at the footy. Had a pie before the game.
Oh, Kev.
There we go.
You've had more sugar than Willy Wonka.
There it is.
That's a push in the back. No, you can't do that. Sorry. That should have been a free.
Yeah, terrible.
Well, they changed the rules. They changed the rules, didn't they? Where now you're allowed to push people in. You're allowed to push people in the back. I mean, that's the worst. That's the worst rule change we've ever seen. And for some reason, the umpires, they're loath to pay it now. Whereas every player understood you couldn't put hands in the back, and it made it easy for the umpires. As soon as they saw hands in the back, they knew it was a free kick. Now you play in front and you get no protection. It's one of the things that's happened in our game, which is a disgrace.
You know why umpires are loath to pay the free kick? Because they are party to trying to increase the scores. They want higher scores. One of their
the umpires have got umpires to the rules.
I'm saying, but the umpires are encouraged to allow scoring to happen. How can you miss?
Lynch again.
Got smothered, didn't it?
Yeah.
Falls in his hands and is going around him all the time.
Have they got Bar Roughhead to play on him?
Yeah, Roughhead's still playing on him.
Would you put more on him?
I would have made the move a long time ago because Moore's done very little all night. Yeah, he hasn't been third man up enough and probably hasn't attacked enough when he's got the ball, but he hasn't got the ball. So let's see what they can do here. Oh, this is going to be good.
See, that's well set up.
Well, Lucas jumped up off the couch then.
Look at him. 5 more touches, though.
Stay home forward.
When did this come about?
He's going to win the Phillips TV.
What's the betting here, Troy? What's the betting here?
I'll give you the betting. I'm good at this.
Even money.
I reckon he'll kick it.
No, I don't reckon he will. He's a backman.
That's a flop.
Even money for out on the full, Renee.
Wow. Gee, it was normally all right with that, but that was terrible.
Fucking run in, backman's run in.
Yeah, it didn't look good on the I would have liked to get off, but of course the green light was on, and
Worse still for Lucas, out in the full doesn't count as a stat.
it must count as a stat.
Still a disposal.
There's still a disposal.
There's another one.
Doesn't have to be a free kick.
Definitely might get it. Definitely might get it.
I'm surprised Mahomes Pickett's kept it.
Very important.
All right.
Yeah, right.
All right. That is a risky kick in anybody's language.
Oh, yes.
Good mark.
He doesn't look like his father, my check, I'll tell you that.
There's no good side.
He's hot and cold at the goals too.
Oh, he's a good player, though, isn't he? Good pick up from Port Melbourne. Oh.
Yeah, he just
Good
needs to
play.
take a few more marks.
Good pressure by Grundy, though, on Dustin Martinez.
When you think of players like Paddy McCartan and Shackey that went 1 and 2 in the draft, you've got a key forward like that for nothing.
What's
Elliot,
the
No.
Troy? You'd know this. What's before the start of the season? I know they may have taken a pay cut, but what was the salary cap for an AFL club for the players? 14 million.
I believe so, okay, but it was
And how much for the football department? 10 million.
10 million for the footy department.
Yeah. So that's 24 million. That's $24 million for players and coaches. So we double that for two sides. That's $48 million on display, and we kick 5 goals each.
Yeah, you're asking where the money's going?
Are we getting our money's worth? That's what I want to know.
I'll get Josh Frydenberg on the phone for you, Kate.
Hey, Kevin, when the crowd walked out of the ground at the 1927 grand final,
Yes.
that Richmond, I think they defeated Collingwood 213 to 1-7.
Yes.
You know what they were saying?
Yes.
£23 they're getting paid between these two teams, and they've only kicked.
I'm suggesting in 1927 in that grand final, what Richmond didn't win in 27. 27, 28, 29, Collingwood won. So Collingwood won the grand final.
There was a 213 to 1-7.
Something like that. But
Yeah.
I think probably the MCG would have been a quagmire. It would have been pouring with rain. Would have been blowing a gale. There would have been something about the day that that set up that score.
Always an excuse.
It's going to hurt.
Hit the front for the first time. There it is.
He hasn't done
he's missed
much. He hasn't made the
Distance. They did not make the distance.
That's unbelievable. That's out of bounds.
He ran out of bounds, didn't he?
Yeah. I'll tell you what. I'll take back these umpires going all right. Oh. There used to be little league games of high scores.
Oh, gee.
Kick it. Kick it.
Yeah, you did well then. Yeah. That was one of, what was that? One of the Dacoses or
Callum Brown.
He struggled a bit, Grimes, tonight. Floston. What's going on?
Downfield.
To Collingwood?
No.
Dude, that's a great downfield. What a shit call that is.
Well, he handled it backwards, so it's got it upfield.
Yeah, but the player had the ball, didn't he?
Yeah, well, yeah. So they had to send it upfield to the downfield.
Look at this. Did not make the distance. Oh, good handball, Lamb, but this is it. This is where Collins can't rates. That's
No, you can't pay that.
oh, look at the kid. It's Higgins again.
He's not happy. That's the way we like it.
Mate, have a look at the scar on Higgins' head. If you think the operation wasn't serious, have a look at the side of his head. Oh, is it coming around? Nope. Oh. You pick this.
I'll tell you what, my prediction of a draw's not too far off the mark.
How long to go, Troy? I'll tell you. Stop shaking.
Could be back here next week.
We could be, Jeff. Yeah. Same crowd. Edwards. Martin. This is exciting. It's all happening just across the road here. Got to nobody. KB needs some sugar.
He needs his sugar.
Look, honestly, I'm flabbergasted, with the modern game, and I know some people may talk about, and I get lambasted all the time, but I'm telling you that football is in trouble. Football is in trouble.
Well, have a look at the crowd, mate.
I know they're gone home, but football is in trouble, and I've said this before. You've got arguably the two best sides in the competition playing. $48 million to put this out onto the field, and I'm being hit with lollies here. $48 million, and honestly, there's
tackle.
no scoring.
What
You know what we've got to do?
Tackle, good tackle.
I tell you what you've got to do. You've got to take the goalpost and you've got to put the goalposts on the wing. That's what we've got to do.
Even like in disposal.
Kick it along.
3 minutes to go. 3 minutes to go in the last quarter, and we've kicked 5 goals each.
Oh,
Good God. Honestly. Some people will say, oh, gee, it was an exciting game. It was an arm wrestle right down to the end.
Well, maybe that's the thing, KP. With that short quarters, they haven't got the fatigue you were talking about.
Oh, come on, Lambert, get through. Yes, I don't like Collingwood as much as the next person.
I tell you what, if this is what we're going to see, if this is how we're going to play football, when they open the gates, no one will go.
Yeah, you know, 2,000 are allowed to go to Port Adelaide.
Yeah, I saw that in the paper.
Yeah, there's still 500 tickets left. They can't sell them.
Oh, gee.
Poor old Crows, they've got some problems over there, haven't they?
Oh, there's always somebody stirring the pot.
They are GAWN, Renee.
What, Max
What
Gordon's
is
going to play for us? Max. Bolton. Oh, now here's a speed, David.
Yes, he's right. It was a level.
Oh, boy.
We've got to find out whether they've ever had a draw, Troy.
Rick will tell us in a minute.
I'll find out for you.
That's deliberate. That's deliberate. That is. He just took the ball over the line.
Nowhere to go.
Chris Main.
Now, someone have a shot. Just have a team.
Well done.
They need a spark
There's
from
time
me.
on, there's time on this, isn't there?
I've just had a quick glance. They definitely drew in 1917.
What's that?
They definitely drew in 1917.
Okay.
Well, that was the first season, wasn't it, Kevin?
Richmond came in 1998.
No, your personal debut.
No, I played the year before. I sat on the bench for the last game of the season.
Oh, sorry, my mistake. Odd, because there was no bench.
Yes, there was. One player.
I'll tell you what, the way it stands, there's just no winners here.
Come on, Soldo. Soldo, while we're young. Oh, what a kick.
Where'd you go there?
Yeah, that's the place to go, wasn't it?
He's trying to save the game.
Listen to the crowd recording. Oh, Presley has spent it before he had us. Won't it be great? How good is this? If the siren goes and it's a draw, there'll be no crowd and everybody will be disappointed. What a way to come back to footy. Lambert. Oh, he's
Get on their foot. Nobody can get on their foot.
oh.
Can we get 2 points in a row?
And uh-oh. Uh-oh. You know what? That's a possession of Phillips.
You still need 10 points. Very good.
Oh, what a
In trouble.
that was. Oh, yeah. 7-3.
Is this going to be a draw?
Right.
He had to mark that.
Did he look around?
He stopped him at a bounce.
Well, he shouldn't have waited for the bounce to start.
Yeah, 2 seconds left.
He's
It's a draw.
very small, Kevin. Unfortunately, this day and age game,
Oh,
Brown is too small.
oh. That's 80,000 disappointed fans.
Look at this expression on KB.
Says it all. He's disgusting.
Honestly, I'm telling you, football's in trouble.
Well
That,
called.
you know, that was going to be a blockbuster coming back from the coronavirus, and we had the two arguably the best sides in the competition. Now Collingwood after half time, they kicked 3 points after half time. Collingwood, and Richmond kicked 2 goals.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
it was
honestly,
it was
football
bonfire.
is in terrible trouble at the moment, and someone from the AFL Commission's got to be sitting down watching and saying, you know what, There's something wrong with our game. We've got to change something. People know there's a problem with our game. They know with density and congestion around the ball and playing keepings off, they know it's a problem because they brought in 6x6x6. They changed the ruck rule. They changed the kick-in rule. They changed the protected zone rule. People talk about giving an extra point if you kick 100 points in a game, and if it goes through it after hitting the post. All these crazy ideas. Bigger goal square, kick it 20 metres for a mark, no mark going backwards. Everyone knows there's a problem, and that crap that we've seen tonight between the two best sides is a disgrace to the game of Australian rules football. And no one cares. No one cares. That's the biggest problem.
And there we go.
That's the biggest problem in the game at the moment, is that no one wants to speak up and say this is rubbish. Rubbish.
But Kevin, how can they change it? They've tried.
I've told them a million times. Fatigue's got to be the factor of the game in Australian rules football. And once you take fatigue out of the game, which you do through interchange, you have this problem. Doesn't matter what they've tried, they keep trying to fix, and I call it the ingrown toenail, with all these little changes instead of attacking the heart valve, which is interchange. And sooner or later, surely someone at the AFL has got to look at this and say, this is crap. Honest crap.
We've certainly got to have 20-minute quarters.
Well,
Was that crap? I'm going to ask all the people here. What was that game? Was it a good game or crap game? Crap. Everyone's crap. And I've got Collingwood and Richmond supporters here.
that's the Bartlett household.
I'll tell you what, though, Kev, if Richmond had kicked one more point, would have been a good game.
No, it wouldn't have been. You see, that's the problem. Well, no. No, it's a point. No, there's a good point made by Trevor. You see, if you win the game as a Richmond supporter by 1 point, you go home happy that you've won the game. But if you're honest with yourself, you say, we won the game, but it was an absolute shocking game. I mean, that could be a grand final, and you'd be over the moon if you win by a point. But in terms of people watching the game, you would come away saying that is an absolute disgrace. The game, look, it was a great game. Contest within contest. Players all over the ground.
Do you feel, KB and Renee, that it's not the game that you guys played? It's a different game.
It's got, you know what, Troy? People say, they try and compare players, they try and compare teams and things of that nature. In the last, say, 15 years, you cannot compare anything that's happened in the last 12 to 15 years with any other era in the history of the game. It's impossible. It's a totally different game altogether. I'll try and find out how many possessions we've had in the game for how many goals kicked. In the 1989 grand final, when Geelong played Hawthorn, a lot of people say it's the greatest game of all time. There was a goal kicked by either Hawthorn or Geelong every 11 possessions, disposals. Every 11 disposals, they kicked 22 goals each, virtually. So I'm going to find out how many disposals. Generally, they have about 600 disposals. So 600 disposals, that's 5 goals each side, 300. So it's 1 goal every 60 disposals.
It'll be less because of the shorter quarters, but you're right. The game has been coached out of its beauty and into a new sport, which is exactly what we don't like. No contests, no contested ball, no scoring, no one-on-one contests, and no stars, really, no superstars that take the game by the scruff of the neck and hit the scoreboard and win it for their team.
You know what? That is the best game I've seen in the last 3 months by far. And I'm so happy that I saw it.
613 disposals in that game in 16-minute quarters. 613. So it's a lot of disposals, and there's 10 goals scored for the game. So that's 1 goal every 60 disposals in the game. I'll have to see how many marks there has been.
There we go.
There's a lot.
There was 155 marks taken in the game. 155 marks in the game. And you know how many were contested? 22. 22 contested marks. Honestly.
Well, everyone wants football back, Kev. So crowds are going to eventually come back in a big way.
Well, you know
but
why? Because that's because we've got a captive audience, and we know you can't kill off Australian rules football. You can't kill it off. It's like the clivia in the garden. You can't kill it. But I tell you what, it's only a few things that keep it alive, and at the moment, it's nearly on its deathbed.
People will be over the footy.
Yeah, well,
Thanks, Barney. Thanks, Troy.
Thanks, Renee, KB.
thanks, guys. We'll see you soon.
And hey, if anybody's still watching and you want to hear a post game, I'm off to Rowan Connolly's Footyologies on Twitter, and you can get the Footyology final siren. And I might be quoting KB.
All the best, boys.
Honestly.